Welcome back, friends, on the B stream. We're about to begin, and this is no B game. I can tell you that. We are getting ready. Most Medic, your host, with me right now, Anne and Fresh, joining me on the desk. We're gonna have a chat. Hello, first of all.
Hello.
We're reintroducing you.
Yes.
Feeling good?
Sorry?
Good? Feeling good today?
Yeah.
So far, so good?
I've been loving it.
Vibey. Just pass the vibe check?
Yes, exactly. You did today, so it's great.
No.
Every single day I do.
Hey, that's it. Passing the vibe check is exactly what we're looking for, and we'll see if G2 can pass the vibe check against Elevate. Now, Elevate have been having a bit of a few issues, I want to say, so far in the tournament. Unexpected in many ways, but G2 have been defying expectations so far. The only team to really push W7M to the edge. Could have gone either way. So very excited to see how this one comes down. Let's talk about our hometown heroes, at least in EU, the team that everybody loves to hate. Esports. Come on. Everybody knows.
Do we love to hate them, Milosh?
Yes.
You can't really hate them anymore now, right? They're doing really good. Like,
Yeah, but it's weird after a whole... After like
We're
2
just so
years.
used to the disappointment. Is that what it is?
wow, that's one spot to be in, huh? Used to being disappointment and then now having
Yeah,
this.
anyways, there we are. G2 are at the helm. It looks like they formulated the right plan. Playing as a team, flexible. The rattiest plays, the rattiest positions. They are lurking. 5 lurkers that are constantly around in this team.
It does really feel like it's an actual team now. I mean, if you talk about the players themselves, the comms seemed way clearer than they did during EUL or whatever tournament before that. They seem very clear. They work together. They actually do these 3-2-1 pushes. And not just the players are an actual team with roles and people really doing their part, but also the support staff, right? They have Fabian. They also have an analyst now. That obviously does help into shaping your team into being a team together.
It's been very fragmented for G2 during 2022. So like you say, to now be looking at a complete team, sure, there are things that they can improve on, but those are the things that are like to make them the difference between being a good team and a great team, not just being a team. And that's probably the best way to say it for G2. They're looking good.
It's crazy. We're talking about them as if now we're back in 2019.
Oh, I don't know.
Look, there's no
They won
Fnatic
SI
to
in
eliminate them.
2019.
There's no Fnatic to eliminate them.
True.
You would know.
I would know.
It's
Yeah.
always worth a dig. I don't know why, Jack. I love
know,
you so
I know,
much,
I know.
but it's just it just feels good. But that's G2. They have opportunities in this game. The question is, can they take it? And Jack, do you see anything strategical that has changed over the past few days with the squad? Have they kind of learned something going into their W7M game, or what do you see they would change after it?
I think it's just much more complete. And it starts all the way with the banning strategy. Their banning strategy against W7M was great. It genuinely was, in terms of going for the weak maps. Now, obviously, on the server, they just fell short, but a lot of teams will fall short against W7M. And then when you get inside of the server, there's not free voices, there's not free IGL, Citizen's gone, Prano's gone. This is very much Alamar's team. It's very much his direction. Obviously, people will contribute with ideas, but he is the overarching IGL of this team, and that unifies the team by just having that one voice that unifies it with Fabian in support of that. And I think that's what's changed between G2 in Stage 3 and G2 now.
He brings really good hype into the team as well, because if there's another player that I may highlight, it would be Doki and his performance that he had during the game versus Koi, where he went huge. And Alamau even looked at him and he said, Doki, look at me, this is your tournament. But Doki, even before this tournament, right, he's been grinding FPL, he's been grinding streaming, just to make sure that he does get his personal performance top-notch.
It seems like things have been working out for G2, but on the other side, Elevate, who've had a rocky year, but honestly, given the state, I guess, of APAC teams in general in competition, they've had some pretty decent successes. Going into here, there was a lot of pressure on them from the entirety of APAC, not just APAC South. And unfortunately, things are getting a bit tougher. It's their last game to play in the group stage. Tomorrow is their off day. So the maximum points you can collect now is 4 by 2-0ing G2, Jack.
Yeah, they have to 2-0 G2, and then hope G2 get 2-0 tomorrow, just to stay in this competition. It's incredible for Elevate. I think, you know, there's no beating around the bush here. There's no way we can kind of gloss over this. This tournament has been a significant disappointment from Elevate, who came, you know, I remember Devmata right on the very first day, Elevate are the hope of all of APAC, and it's been pretty disappointing thus far. The thing that's been most disappointing for me has been the attacks. They've looked slow, they've looked lethargic, there's been no synergy. Elevate are currently sitting as the 20th best attacking team in the tournament out of 20. So,
Wow.
you know, it's rough, is all I'm going to say. They're doing pretty well on defense, and they're able to gun as well. They're holding KD, they're able to gun, their defenses are good. It's just the attacks that are significantly letting them down.
Well, I mean, you talked about them being the hope of APAC, right? Not just APAC, I think. People around that as well. They have a huge fan base. I mean, listening back to the Berlin Major, for example, how people were cheering for Elevate to take on W7M, for example. And we touched a little bit on the support staff of G2. If we touch upon the support staff of Elevate, they've had some rocky changes in regards to that. They had their coach, Laxing, come in, but there was a little bit of a language barrier. Only Onagir was able to really understand him well enough to be able to communicate with him. So obviously that didn't work out either. And now their analyst NanoKids is stepping up to be their coach. But to make such a change so short in front of such a big tournament, that will be really difficult to get those things fine-tuned so close before.
Well, let's see who actually won it out in our ban phase. Jack, you were talking about G2's banning strategy. Thanks to Fabian and Titan, who, of course, we used to know as Secret Titan, who's now on the G2 squad. 4 bans have come in. Skyscraper first, that's Elevate's pick. They start on the attack. G2 have picked Bank. They start on defense. And finally, Oregon will be their setter. G2 with the last ban. Jackers, your thoughts?
Can I call this ban phase a disaster for Elevate? Maybe I can. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's a
Why?
disaster. So here's the reason. G2 are known over the last, since Skyscraper's introduction, to be a really, really, really good Skyscraper team. They will take anybody to Skyscraper, doesn't matter who it is. G2 have got better since then. So Elevate picking that into G2 makes very little sense. G2 have obviously picked Bank, which is, you know, a map that for a long time G2 were known on as a good team. You know, it hasn't worked out in recent history, but again, this is kind of a brand new G2 since stage 3. And then Oregon, that's their second preference map. They've got like 3 of their top 4 preference.
If we can highlight that first map, I have a few concerns there because it's really big question marks as to why Elevate would pick a map like Skyscraper. Yes, they do have a 67% win rate on that map, but it's also their 3rd most banned map. And you know, if you pick a map, your opponents get to pick which starting side they want. Obviously, G2 picks defense, but then if you look at the attacking and defending win rate for Elevate, defense, okay, attacking, quite poor, and they need some kind of hope, right?
Both maps, Elevate are starting to attack as the worst attacking team in the tournament.
They picked it on Bank.
They picked it on Bank, yeah.
Which, in terms of the meta of Bank, makes sense.
True.
But the meta of Elevate
doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
But they need some hope, right? If they start on Skyscraper and they start losing a few rounds,
This could tumble.
yes,
How cheap is Hopium here in Canada?
we need some.
Can somebody
Anybody?
Can somebody type that out on the internet? Check. Can you Bing it for me and just check exactly how much it will be here, because it's going to be needed for Elevate. We have to set the record straight, right? We want to show the strength of all of our teams here at SI, but we also cannot hide the fact that there are weaknesses that teams like G2, for example, can exploit very easily, at least from what we've seen here at the tournament. I want to see, maybe, are there some saving graces, something that Elevate can have changed, or a player or a way to play that could help them out? Or weakness of G2 even?
I think just from Elevate's perspective is the fact that it's just one side. There's a very clear symptom that we can see, which is the attacks. Their defenses are good. Their players are holding their own. Their players are playing okay in terms of KD. You know, Onagiri is probably the player that everyone will mention, who is probably the best fragger on that team. They've got good signs. As long as they improve the attack, they will be competitive.
But how do you fix an attack where your immediate, at least from seeing the gameplay, the immediate reaction is, let's just play blitz and rush into their faces?
I mean,
so many rounds.
Maybe they do that, though. Maybe they make rushes. Maybe they make these cheese plays that make an attacking round 50-50. Because doing their default, they've won 6 attacks across 6 maps so far.
But to go even deeper into cheese, as a resident Dutch woman here on the
Yes.
that cheese has gone moldy. It's not working out. Can't blitz at all.
Well, no, I recall a very specific round on Chalet where Elevate tried to get the breach. The first sign showed up that they wouldn't get the breach, and they just sucked up the entire plan and went somewhere else.
Whoop. Okay.
It's very simple.
There's no
problem.
dedication.
No, like you need to make your mind clear about what you want to do. If you have ideas all over the map and you have like plans here and there, you need to commit. You need to make a decision. If you don't make a decision with your IGL, with your team together, you'll be, at best, 5 solo queue players playing ranked. I hate to bring it like that, but it does kind of feel that way.
So it seems like, because the game is ready, 2-0 G2.
I would be very surprised if we saw map 3. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Let's see how things go. If Elevate was able to change up on their mistakes and move forward against G2, we'll have that in the server. On to our casters. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. And yes, we find ourselves here at Elevate's final showdown. There was a great video of them bowling the other day, but they are in risk of striking out here. Their last chance for any points. I'm Flick, that's how.
I'm back, and just to quickly go back over the stakes that Elevate basically have to face here if they do not get a 2-0 victory, as in 2 maps, 0 for G2. Their journey is over as the second APAC team to be eliminated. As Direwolves, of course, was eliminated just a little bit earlier, I believe. So that means 2-0, and then you are done, and you need to hope that G2 still loses every single map afterwards. So, looking bright? Not really.
No.
It's not really in their own hands anymore.
I think it's the opposite of looking.
Yeah, it's well, I would say dire, but that's a different group, so that doesn't quite work as well. But yeah, they still have something to play for here. They can still show why they did qualify to the Six Invitational. At the same time, G2, they are looking to prove themselves. Of course, they had a change as well.
Yeah.
Citizen, who is now on Sonics, and then Benja coming in. Ever since, everything started clicking quite well for the team. It's like a different G2.
Fabian's happy.
Yeah, I mean, I ran into him in the elevator.
I haven't bumped into him yet. I need to try and find him.
He like basically attacked me for a hug, which is something I wouldn't expect from Fabian. You know, it's.
I think it's Fabian. Like if you swapped out his handbook there with the Death Note, you'd be like, yeah, that's still Fabian.
Yeah, that's still Fabian. Yeah.
It depends how well G2 is playing. On the other side, Elevate, all smiles, but. Can they go with a little bit more into this game? The way Master of Maps. Oh, that's a pole.
Yeah, that's a pole and a half.
That's a pole, isn't it? The way Master of Maps, Jack Fresh Allen.
Yep.
Said it. Oh, they've messed this map ban right up.
Yeah, we're going to see how much of that is going to be true because, you know, sometimes we do have alternating results compared to the expectations. But yeah, I think the majority of the people at home as well as the people here are expecting a 2-0 victory for G2. Does it mean that Elevate doesn't have an opportunity? They have every opportunity here. With that Montaigne ban though, so they do have to think of something else to use.
Yeah, get out of that. Ying has had a really high ban rate throughout this event, more than I think most other recently. I just feel like, you know, it's a sort of angle of play. Teams are very comfortable going with the pace. You've got a lot in your pockets. Valk as well, but Valk's always been banned. Even before you were sick, Valk was being banned. You've been sick for ages.
It's been 2 days.
You've been disappeared for ages. It's nice to have you back.
Thank you, thank you.
Did you watch a lot of Siege in bed? Did that help you recover?
Basically watching as much matches as I could in bed, yes.
Luckily, there's been a lot on.
There's been a lot of games going through.
What have been your favorite moments?
Well, I have to say, like, the way Eminem has been playing has truly been amazing me, considering the fact that, of course, like, last event, I didn't really have high hopes for them. They made a small change, and they're still known as 10 a.m. Gaming, and, you know, they still throw 5v1s, but
10-15 a.m. Gaming.
They have gone unbeaten throughout, like, the entire group, so that has been pleasantly surprising me. I really hope that we can see more of that during playoffs. Of course, they will be receiving a bye right now, so, yeah, they're already one step up higher on the ladder.
What hasn't been pleasant, I think, has been Elevate's run throughout this. As was highlighted on the desk, seeing them in Berlin, seeing them in the stages where they just get the crowd behind them. They're such an upbeat team. There's such a fun amount of Siege that can be played, but it just has not clicked here in Montreal. They haven't been able to find any maps at all. They haven't been able to break that divide. They've suffered across the board. There was, you know, 1 OT. But then from where that match started to where that sort of ended, it's just been a really rocky, unfortunate tragedy for them. Let's see if they can try and break that deadlock here against G2.
We did expect this format to be a bit more difficult for APAC, considering we were headed towards best of 3s instead of the best of 1s. Best of 1s is where we usually do see them shine a bit and, you know, cause some upsets, but best of 3 system hasn't really been kind of to them as of yet. But as we get going, Sapper in to try and sneak himself all the way through, maybe hoping to find a G2 player that is not paying enough attention. I mean, drones are coming through, Barbire as well, Alamau's on Undo. These two will be meeting each other soon.
Yeah, it's sort of this thing of they have an idea, but do they truly know? Look at this, though. Sapper all the way up the restaurant stairs, but look at that just below him. Hey, Alamau, how's it going? Pretty good. He is able to get that first pick, and where he thought he was entirely sneaky, unfortunately, you got to wake up earlier. Oh, and even then, Mark, over the top, gets rid of Blur, gets a frag back, and they're still putting pressure close to the site, but they haven't quite got that surprise strike they thought they had.
No, they hope, of course, to catch someone off guard with pushing Sapper up that far, but instead lost that early opening. Luckily, Mark able to find it back, so nothing really to be too worried about as of yet. The thing they should be more worried about, though, is all these long angles that have been created by G2. So they want to be going for some long-range fights here and there. The attack is usually favored.
That's a very sturdy bit of wall.
Yeah, a sturdy bit of wall. Requires a couple of shots.
Strong wall.
Also, the Izami on the drum is going to be making it a bit more difficult to take down the control, so they will need to use some good amount. Was that through the closet? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, Onigiri just around the side. Doki goes down. DCH is able to find Alamau with a grenade, and suddenly, Elevates grab themselves a bit of wind, but a bit too overconfident there. Swung around, caught out, they suffer one more, and from what was a 4 versus technical 2 to now a 3 versus 2 against them. It's a bit of a missed moment there for Elevate. They still had so much time as well. They could have maybe gone for something slightly slower, slightly more coordinated instead of the wide swing. There was still cover, and now they got to try and beat their way through the remaining site. Unfortunately, with how much still stands, Virtue's able to pick up Mr. Punch on the drum side. DCH stepped in, hoping they swing their way from gold. It's the fight over. Into Geisha, back towards the opposite end of gold. Just sees the end of Doki, but Doki has the first trigger.
Son ahead there, wanted to quickly go for the repeat, but pre-fire a bit too strong in that case. Elevate started off with trying to get someone in very sneakily, very early on. Sapper, who of course know is able to provide some clutches every now and then when Elevate needs him. But was picked up. Information gained, I'm not quite sure where it came from. If that was just a sound call coming through, or if there was a camera somewhere that did, bleed through that information before it was taken out. By the way, that was an early fall, and they still went in from the east, but weren't quite able to deal with the G2 players quickly enough without losing members themselves. And it was said on the desk before, Elevate is currently the worst attacking team in the tournament, so there's definitely a lot for them they can improve on. So let's see how they will evolve during the next couple of rounds throughout this half, because there's still 5 rounds to go. There's still plenty of rounds they can try and pick up. Theoretically, if they pick up 2 or 3, then they have a good fighting chance later on in this map.
5 seconds remaining.
A bit more of a stretch and extension here, and G2, there was a flicker, a moment of that round where things, I'm not going to say went away from them, but could have. And that's something that they need to sort of put the cap on. You are still in a high intense game with Elevate, and sure, Elevate have not had the tournament they wanted to, but we've seen eliminated teams be gatekeepers before. We've seen almost eliminated teams be their own saviors before. It's never over until it's over. And you know that Fabian is going to try and drill that in to the G2 boys as they approach themselves here. Elevate, can they try and swindle themselves a bit closer? As they tried to in the previous round, they didn't quite have any success before, but here, look, it's just direct towards the objective in the opening 30 seconds.
Good spot coming out on Blur. DCH is looking to see if he can quickly come back on it, but he gives away his position there, and that means he's now fully aware of the fact that he is being hunted, so he falls back up to the top floor. Some verticality is being created by G2 just to make sure that whoever is chasing them from below is not going to have free reign. DCH falls back to the bedroom. See these grenades he can start using to fish up for some of these players on G2, as he's of course right below the exhibition room. They're on the Solace still, able to roam around, at least see some PC utility every now and then whilst activating that scanner. But for now, Elevate just sitting tight.
Ooh, Alamal's not. Well, certainly neither is Mark and Benja. They take each other out of the affair. DCH underneath, Blur with a run-out's able to get Mr. Punch, just swung around on the side. It wasn't even a run-out. Someone else had a run-out at exactly the same time. Popped up on the screen, Doki. He's looking for the long, deep angle across to that close window hop in here, offering some cover. There's a drone making its way up towards Blur on the back end. I assume then it was Doki that popped a run-out from this corridor, and it's drawn some attention. There it is. DCH trying to keep a lockdown on the long angle with a bit of a rotate here from Ash. This is sort of one of those things I wanted from Elevate before when they had that advantage. Get the rotate round. Doki almost suffered without even really knowing that.
Almost suffered twice there as DCH was watching the door he was rotating back in from. Virtue Falls. That brings it to a 2-on-3 situation. Doki's going to get taken out by DCH. Leaves it only up to Blur now in a 1v3 clutch situation. 40 seconds on the clock. You hear DCH is going up on the Gemini replicator trying to figure out where these players are. Drone gets taken out, and of course Blur has the Solace ability to stop any plant from happening if it's not happening on top of one of these tables, which is exactly what Sapper is doing. Doesn't matter in the end, Onagiri is going to be taking him down, and that is going to be a round for Elevate. As they attacked that quite well, have people ready and present below, and help these angles as they force the G2 players to rotate back through the site. Gave them the advantage they needed to lock that out.
I don't speak Taiwanese.
No, I don't either, but I request.
Unfortunately, obviously we've had the listeners throughout the tournament. I cannot give viewers at home a translation or understanding of what Elevate are talking about unless they do it in English. I'm very sorry.
I did see people request that even if it's not an English team, people would like to listen every now and then because they might.
We're trying our best. If a Dutch team come through, we've got you covered.
Can translate, yes.
If
maybe Deepak will be some Dutch words.
If wherever Pengu's from, some off-brand Netherlands. If there's
Denmark. Yeah.
If a Danish team is playing,
Times World Champion.
If a Canadian team is playing, Parker could translate.
He could. Jesse could as well.
Well, he's not.
It's not as true, but it can always be like, just help for a quick second.
What a piece. Elevate, they're able to claw around back there, and I preferred their approach to the actual punch. It was slowed down. It took about a minute. They reevaluated themselves, or they did it at about a minute even. They sort of went, okay, well, we can piece this together. This is what we've got. They set themselves up for the pinch onto Doki. As you said, they were watching towards the door. They had the pressure onto the window, and whether they knew exactly where he was or not, they knew exactly where he needed to go. And that was the force. That was what was played very, very well there. Alamau, he finds himself under a strict bit of pressure. I like the adaptation towards the Mozzie. I think they've realized the drone game from Elevate is being a little bit dangerous here. They're not going to play the Solace. Blur is instead on the Azami, the structural architect of a lot of this tournament. But Alaman might be able to just slow things down alongside the Mute.
Yeah, the Mute and Mozzie combo is always a bit of a dangerous one, especially if you're on the attack, because it's just going to be difficult to get your drones around, really, because some doorways will be blocked off by Mute. Sometimes you get your drone stolen, and suddenly that information goes towards the defenders. Something they need to be a bit careful of. Again, early entry from Sapper, finds himself in Dragon. He's kind of on that spearhead approach here for Elevate. Salamata gets taken down there by Onagiri, the MK17 being used right there to take him out. That's going to be the Mozzie gun. I'm not sure if he deployed all his pests. I don't think he had, and that means that these drones suddenly became a lot more safe to use. As Blur is receiving a bit of pressure now from the terrace area, actually.
And they're close. They're ready to rock and roll. DCH is going to break this gate for them, and there's going to be a fresh one put right back up. Blur. We talk about the architect of this tournament. Azami is a nightmare. There's a bit of a rotate coming around underneath as well. Doki is going on an adventure. We talk about the power of the drone and roam game, and well, there's Onagiri at least finding the first for Elevate's push. Virtue goes. Doki has to do the same. Gets the strike, and untested is able to slip his way back round. I think the drone at the top of the stairs might have been under the control of Alamau at that point. One of the caught Mozzie ones.
It's a good call from Doki to fall back instantly. Benji now picking up a kill as well. Brings it back to even numbers. Very important. Not quite sure if that's a Gemini running in. Yeah, it was. Okay, for a second I was afraid there that Benjo was about to be taken down. C4 gets tossed out. It's not going to be finding anybody. I believe it actually got caught off by a Syria laser gate there, so help the attack a little bit. Sapper takes him down before Doki responds.
Wow, it's back and forth so far throughout this series on Skyscraper. And Elevator bringing a bit of a game, and G2 is still trying to warm up into it. But Doki has been one of those guns that, okay, sure, in the first round he almost got caught out pretty bad, but with 15 seconds, this is really a place he can try and set a bit of a pace on DCH. With a bit of width, Doki with a little bit more. There's a 1 versus 1 as Mr. Punch finds the back of Blur, but he's got the pressure of having to put the kit down, and he's going to stick it. He knows the difference. Might be a second or two, but Doki can make that sprint.
Operators, you have run out of time.
But on for Doki there. First of all, he came in for that flank from the house area, picked up a kill, fell back instantly, strikes as it basically becomes a 2v1, and then decides to just hide, wait out for these last seconds. That's the amount of experience, of course, that a player like Doki carries. He knows exactly when he needs to strike, he knows exactly when he needs to stay patient and let that timer run out. Allowed them to pick up that second round. So G2 currently still in the lead, but Elevate are showing some promise on their attacks. I mean, that's the second entry kill they managed to grab. And it wasn't up until like, you know, a minute later before G2 was finally able to put some responses back on the board, which turned the number count back to even. G2 need to be a bit careful here with the way the Elevate's attacks are currently going. Yes, they're getting away with it, but that last one was a bit too close for comfort.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit close to comfort. It's that sort of tricky game so far, I think. For G2, they, you know, as I said, I don't think they underestimate Elevate. I don't think anyone underestimates anyone at this tournament. But they're comfortable, and comfortable leads to confidence, and confidence can lead to moments like this, where suddenly Elevate, you know, for the comments on where they've been good and where they've been bad, these attacks look pretty sharp. There is well-timed pushes, there's drives, there's differences of, you know, 5 to 10 seconds. There was the mistake in the first round, which I still think cost them. There was a little bit of time left in that most recent round, but they didn't quite have the wiggle room to do the push that they wanted to, but still, they're knocking on the door of repeated success, and that's gonna hit the warning bell on the other side of the door of G2. It's sort of a strangely built door with a bell on it. It's like a shop door.
Oh yeah, okay, no, I know what you mean now. It's just, normally you have a ring.
Yeah, it's like a doorbell, but it's a physical bell.
When you open the door, the bell rings. And
yeah.
I get it, yeah. It's the Blackbeard on Anagiri. He's going to be playing down the karaoke window, hoping to cut down some of these rotations. I mean, that is something Elevate was able to do earlier on. Start rotating these G2 players around, putting pressure, and then having someone ready on Overwatch to make sure you can pick him up. EMP Impact will be used to get rid of any ADC that might still be out there as well. Quickly used to get rid of the shield on the black stairs as well. Forces Virtue back, forces Alamar down the stairs as well. Smoke Canister will be used to provide himself some extra HP. A lot of damage done to DCH actually. Wondering if he was putting down a shield.
I think so. I don't know if Alamar, Alamar. I don't know if Alamar entirely went by the reference of the sound of a talent shield being deployed, but it worked out very well. I do love the use of the pocket EMP to swing what they thought, you know, was the more important part, which it was. That shield means you have to play. It was something that we sort of highlighted with the holds. The top of Black Stairs, it was the favorite, and then it's sort of fallen out of favor a little bit because it became a bit tricky. On Agiri, just on the karaoke window, gets the first. Alamau, he's holding off on one. Oh, there's a freebie! Pops back up, he's able to get 1 and 2! Do not get 3, but he does! Alamau! Did they not know?
I'm so confused by this. He jumps out. He finds a Nagiri as well before a Claymore will finally take him out. It's a 1v1 situation now. It's Blur up against Mr. Punch, who's going to be taking this victory here. Blur's holding very tightly. His head gets spotted. He's fall back right behind the hard wall here. He doesn't want to take this fight. Not yet. 40 seconds. Uses his Kiba barrier to provide himself some extra security. Falls back into Geisha. The plank comes through. 45 seconds soon on the board. As Blur responds. Takes down a drone. He's probably aware of what's happening right here. Goes for the pre-fire, but takes more damage than he deals. And Mr. Punch clutches it out. But I'm still so confused as to see what happened on the black stairs there. There was a player right below him. Alamar fully aware. Look at this. He knows he's there at that point. He hears the shield, tosses the smoke. No response comes in from the player below the staircase. Mark just had no clue. As 4 players get taken out that way, it turned into a 1v1 in the end. that went Elevate's way. And that's the second round we were talking about.
Oh, it's a bit of a whoops.
That's a bit of a whoops.
It's a bit of a whoops. That play on the black stairs, I talked about how, you know, it's fallen out a bit of a favor, especially over this tournament. You'll see a lot of teams double lock the wall of karaoke, not have that rotate.
Yeah.
This single player, they just assumed Alamau had gotten out of there.
But why?
I don't know.
The thing is,
I'm not there.
No, I know, but the thing is, he tossed out the smoke when they took care of the shield.
He did.
Yeah, they had a player at the bottom of black as well. So.
And he tossed out the smoke when they were like setting it up in the corners. There was the first smoke when they did the swing, the second smoke when they were in the corner, getting the 2 kills in front of him. And it was about a second and a half to get those 2 kills as well. And the person behind just didn't swing up.
No, but the thing is, they set up because they thought it was safe on the black stairs because they had a player at the bottom of black stairs.
Yeah.
They didn't bother checking the rest of it. Alamau just sat there like quiet as a mouse.
You've always got to check the middle of your stair sets.
You got to make sure the staircase is clear indeed.
Either way, coming down to a 1 versus 1, for all the heroics, Alamau ran into a Claymore.
Unfortunate.
It wasn't that he landed in the Claymore as well, I did think he ran into it. And, hey, that's the G2 we know.
I mean, it's the best way to get back in, not by running through a Claymore, but
no,
he wanted to take was the best.
No, 100%, and you're just beelined and locked into it. At that point, you know, he did want to get there back as quickly as possible because then it is a 1 versus 1 for as long as that player's outside, and you have the full read on how long that will take. Blur losing the 1 versus 1. Swinging a little bit too late, whether he didn't quite hear the plant being placed. I wanted to see if it was a bait. Either way, Elevate, they've got themselves back level off the back of a massive mistake, and that's just a huge bit of energy potentially for them.
Definitely could be. And, you know, if we go back to what was said in the analyst desk, they're currently the 20th worst attacking team, which means they are last in attacks.
I was going to say, 20th out of how many?
Yeah, 20.
Oh, no.
If they manage to get 2 or 3 rounds, they are finding themselves in quite a good spot to go over to the defense afterwards and see what they can do against G2 here. And to mention, Elevate, they just need a 2-0 win here, right? If they get anything less, it is over for them. G2, all they need is a map to go to playoffs, but of course they want to be going to the highest seed they possibly can.
Yeah.
To lower bracket for the 4th, upper bracket for 2nd and 3rd, and a bye for the 1st seeded team in your groups. And G2 is the only one that still has 2 games left to play in this group. They already had their bye day.
That's it. They're also the only other team that isn't confirmed alongside Elevate. So
yes.
Elevate do anything other... Elevate drop a map, it's over. G2 are confirmed. Elevate cannot jump them. G2 just need 1 point. Elevate need all 4 and the head-to-head and G2 to lose.
Now they're aware of someone being on the staircase.
Oh, they've learned.
Definitely learned. Phone call coming through. And that, okay, so this is why they used the Impact EMP last time to get rid of the ADS that could be out there. Didn't this time. And Alamau comes swinging in with the buckshot there, takes it out. Instantly, smoke canister is being sent right after to make sure he's not getting challenged anymore.
Oh, that is a lot of damage to Alamau, and look at the time though, 22 seconds. They're really far away from the site. Doki gets dropped by a Claymore. Benj is able to find Mark in the meantime. A 4 versus 2. I didn't even think in 15 seconds he can make it towards the kit in the site at this point. It is just a round that is filtered and flickered away, and Elevate, for the compliments I paid to them being short and snappy to the site before, I just left wanting.
Yeah, the last round they had a more clear plan. And I'm just going to be, because it was both karaoke, I'm just going to be explaining them. Last round, they were stacked up on the balcony out there. They used an Impact EMP to get rid of the Surrey Laser Gate and the ADSs. Use explosive to get rid of the shield.
Let's listen.
Yeah?
Okay, we missed it. You need to get into the habit of this. We need to beat this into you. You've been away for too long, Hap.
Beat me if it happens.
Okay, well, I'm not going. I'm not Parker and Pengu. Yeah, no, it's cool to listen in. We got a little bit. They sounded like they were toying with an idea of an extension, but we'll see how it goes. You were saying...
I was saying, Elevate really had a good plan in round 4. Like, they were working together as a team, and now, like, it felt a bit disconnected. I mean, explosives were being tossed in, whilst ADSs were still there. They didn't really work together to get rid of the PC utility. The shield stayed up. Alamau was able to just play freely on the staircase there. It's the kind of stuff that they wanted to prevent in that 4th round, even though they kind of oversaw him. If they would have gone for a similar approach, they would have been able to clear him out more effectively and then see from there how it went. Either way, it happens. Big opening made here in the makeup room.
Yep.
Geisha, looking to see if they might be able to find anybody going up for a bit of a rappel.
We've had 2 Claymore deaths in 2 rounds.
Yeah, Claymores have been doing quite well.
They're very active in both sides. G2, they're trying to be a bit adventurous. There seems to be more of an extension this time around, at least to the chance of the swing. We remember how this started to fall away. The first 2 bodies, I believe it was, fell out of the favor here. And Elevate, again, it feels like they've not slowed a little. There's a little bit more caution, I think, being paid here on the approach. There's some ideas of getting open that little swing wall, which starts here. Onigiri's just going to pop the impact underneath, get anything off that wall that might have been there. The Selma should be able to roll their way on through. Gives them a bit of width towards the top of the house stairs. The wall on the site is going to start to open as well, and it gives you dangerous things you've got to be on one side of, but also you need the angles.
Yeah, you need those angles, and I believe they actually tossed out a impact as well to stop that breach from opening up any further. Either way, they're just still alive, using these Kiba barriers to basically set up a second line of defense, and as extra Selmas are being used to completely open up the wall right now to allow them to just run through, a plant is surely something they'll try and attempt onto the A-bomb site. However, Alamau needs to be taken down first. They cannot go for a plant with Alamau still being alive in this actual site. Now, there's a player below, but I believe just hopped outside. DCH has these grenades that he could go fishing. Was that Sophia just running by? I think it was.
Yeah, it seems to be getting a little bit conversational here at Elevate, and they're able to at least find Doki on the back end. They're trying to make progress, but they're struggling to piece out where. They've been able to get, as I said, the one fight on the back end. GT's getting a little bit antsy, moving around on the spot and seeing if they can try and find a lead in here, but Elevate's not giving one because I don't think Elevate really know where to give one. There's another rotation underneath. Sophia's opening the door. They've got themselves crouched just under the window itself. There's Onigiri, as I said, going around. A great grenade throw. Doesn't quite get the catch, and Alamau does. Finds the header sapper out over the breach. 48 seconds. Dan doesn't get the next, but, 30 seconds, 40 seconds have passed, and Elevate, they're still trying to work out a plan.
They got the entry, weren't really able to move too much upon it. Most of the players are still in the same position, just holding out these angles, hoping to find someone. Mr. Punch does exactly that. But DCH is kind of in a bad position, because as soon as he jumps in, he gets taken out. Mr. Punch takes Benjen, now suddenly it's a 2-on-4. There's only one person on site for G2. 2 people are holding this window, none get found, and that means that this plant potentially will go down as Virtue is stuck inside of the drum room. There's no way for him to get back in. 40 seconds left on the clock, it's Elevate that lock it out.
It's a little bit strange, the rhythm of this game. It was a lot of testing there for Elevate, and it wasn't too intensive a test, and it's something that you can only really go back and break down on the VOD reviews, or if you part of their comms and piecing things together and just what was being caught or wasn't. But it felt like a couple of those opening kills were kind of lucky, a little bit of blessing, like right place, right time. And I'm not saying they didn't win the gunfight. Obviously they did.
Yeah.
But from the comparison of their opening rounds, where if there was a player, they would take with multiple different angles. Think about the last time we were on that site. They had 3 people shutting down Doki when he was on that bit of width.
Yeah.
This time, Mr. Punch just took 2 random 1-versus-1 engagements by himself on the far end and won them both out. And then Elevate goes, oh, we can plant now. And it's that sort of strange thing where it's nothing you can really rely on, I think, but, eking by on that. G2 now, the pressure of attack on Skyscraper's on them.
10 seconds remaining.
The thing is, if you look at that game, or the round, a lot of the players were just in the same area for like the majority of the round, right? And then the only differences or movements they made was jump in or out of the window. So it's like you had the 2 people down there in the little armory hallway near that window, where like just someone jumped in as the swing came through from the G2 player. They've been there basically the entire round, just waiting, and that's kind of the thing. Elevate was just holding angles, was waiting for G2 to get impatient, picked them up as a result of it, managed to punish them and take that man advantage. And they knew there was one person in drum.
Yeah.
There was 2 people left on the site. You kill one, boom, 4v1 on the site. It's as simple as that. You just go for it.
It's just simple,
right?
yeah.
You go for it because you are favored, and you're not named Eminem.
The slow approach underneath here. They're not going to see if they can be a bit of a surprise factor, but look at this around Black Stairs. There's a stack up, and if we remember the very first round we had, it was a slow creep up the main sort of stairs of the side itself. It felt like G2 for a second were going to try their own bit of quick break pressure. There's Doki leading around with a grenade. They want to try and bounce this off the top, hit the shield, and maybe if they're lucky, the player, but the player tucks themselves further away. The calls give the idea that the calls are coming round. That one tucks the shield, gets it broke. The Yella's thinking about having the fight and the engagement, not getting the player. Sort of highlights, okay, maybe the game has been guessed here by Elevate. So Doki goes and watches the rotation around on the back, make sure someone doesn't come towards them. But with the dedication that they've had towards the top of Black, let's see if they can double down.
Of course, did pull the grenade pin twice, which means they will be fully aware. So might just both gone. Mark will be able to find Doki, but he's going to be very tagged up. He needs to be very careful here. His angle's being watched. If he steps out, it might just lose his life. Bench is coming up as well, but it wasn't aware of the player right in front of Gold. Onigiri takes him down, and G2 just getting picked apart in this first attack here. Only having the Ossa shield really to still play with here, but Virtue is about to be walking into 3 separate gunfights here if he sets one more step forward.
Trying to just batten their way through. They've obviously got the Ossa shields, but what else do you really have? It's the 2 versus 5. They don't have anything in their pockets, but they have this. Manpower, confidence to swing, and Onigiri ending a flawless. I believe he is now 12-3.
Yeah, Onigiri is really stepping up, and that's what we always like to see on Elevate, of course, when they start doing well, and Onigiri is starting to get into that rhythm. It's always a bit of a dangerous team to play against at that point.
Hey, remember when he set a record?
Yeah, I remember when he set a record.
Yeah, because we cast it.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Was it 27?
It was 27.
I mean, it's a shared.
Well, he tied the record.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But
he still wanted to grab it for himself.
13-3. He was one better than I thought. Hey, that's pretty good.
You know, he still needs to step it up a little bit if he wants to grab it for...
He does. He needs to... I guess this says a lot about how big his record was. He needs to more than double what he already has.
He needs 14 kills to equal it again.
Yeah.
15 to break it.
It was a big record.
Let's just throw an ace in there, you know, just to make it a little bit easier.
At least 2. 3 would be perfect.
Well, I mean, if we're going...
Onigiri, no pressure. Onigiri, no pressure, but if you want to break the record, 3 aces.
Just do it, just for fun, you know?
Yeah.
No stress.
All right. Bit of stress for G2. First attack? Okay, it's your first attack. You're on Skyscraper. It plays well to the defenders. You've got to see if you can try and buffer it. If this goes away from them, I'm pretty confident we'll see attack timeout conversation.
Yeah, I would believe so as well, of course. Sky, the pick Elevate came in with, but losing those 3 defensive rounds on G2's side really could have hurt them. And now they need to go for the attack themselves to see if they can better them. And that first one, that didn't look too well. They were just being picked apart from all different sides. Whilst they had a clear ID, they just clearly weren't able to fully execute it. By the way, Doki quickly into the Black Stairs here. Benja's going to be supporting him, so that will show you what kind of an approach this will be. They're hoping to take Dragon and Terrorist very soon, and that's why Onigiri is receiving this much pressure now. But he's playing with his trusty MK14, so I don't think he'll be too afraid of whatever is coming at him.
Blur with the breach. Just should get the other connector wall there, and it does. Hey, there's a lesson on how to get that. If it's electrified, you can do it from outside. Just put it on the corner, and you still get the width. Doesn't remove the electrification, but it does give you the space to push forward behind it and make drum passable. Blur suffers a little bit, so this is trying to make someone else suffer. They're just getting the read. The drone on the far end, the range on this device is... I guess it depends. Pro Solus, magnificent. Anti-Solus, oh no.
Yeah, G2 have no clue, but 2 of the players have been known. They know exactly where the drone is currently watching as well. That's active, so... Elevate. Not really too worried about anything coming from the house area, at least. Not yet. Onigiri takes down one for being traded out by Virtue.
They can kill him.
They can kill him. He's killable.
It's proven. They got rid of him. They got a huge gunner and a huge gun off the board now. They lost... obviously the calls, that will be no more coming through, but in terms of other utility, Doki still has a couple of grenades. They have the chance at seeing if they can try and loop and put the pressure on, but DCH.
There you go.
I got that.
Off the flank.
Yeah, he's gone on the far end of the flank. The first grenade impacts the spray either side of the door as Mr. Punches to take. Benja is removed. Another grenade goes, and that one does get Sapper in response. Blur is...
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what to say either.
Unless he had...
We'll just continue, I guess, as Virtue takes down Mark. DCH just completed the flank, will take down one kill. He has no clue that there was still a second player right behind the breach. Blur takes him down. It's only up to Mr. Punch now. 1v2, the breach is still closed. 10 seconds on that clock. The diffuser is in hand. Are they going to try and go for a plant here? Pings are coming through to know exactly where they will be. All he needs to do is find the right person. 3 seconds on that clock. Does he know where this plant is happening? No, does not. Doki takes him down. And G2 equal the scoreline.
Only just, and let's see what they're saying, if it's saying much. Oh, well, I guess we'll be seeing the smattering of fighting instead. I mean, the only thing I can think about that Blur thing was he's forgot to turn advanced gadget deployment on.
I don't know. So I'm still thinking about it. It's like, was he waiting?
That's the only thing I can think.
Was he waiting for Doki to throw a grenade underneath?
Attackers need to
Or did he
locate and
indeed
defuse
forget
as
to
many
turn it
bombs
off,
as they
like
can.
or on the advanced gadget deployment? That would be a very funny kind of mistake to make, though. It didn't cost him.
Okay, it really depends. It's a funny mistake if
you're not playing.
If you're not part of that. I mean, they got the round, and it's really by hook or by crook, these rounds. It doesn't feel like either team has control of the game at all. It feels very chaotic. There's an energy about this map, the showdown, so far that is sort of belligerent to the rules of Siege. It's just throwing itself into an engagement and somebody wins at the end. And there's
very sloppy game.
And there's no connecting dots of being like, this has led into this, into this, into this. This is.
I haven't seen a clean take.
No.
It's just throw bodies at the problem.
There's been a flawless round one, and that was just a butchery on the top of the black stairs.
Yeah. Oh well. It's been an odd game so far. It's G2 again going in for the attack. Seems like the house area needs to be taken under control first. Mark takes down the first drone. Already coming up on the VIP staircase though. Are they aware? They might not be. Oh, that's a shield. Okay, I was gonna say, is he gonna be able to get a shield if he steps a little bit more to the left? The RC Rotero is coming through though. Gonna be taken down with that shield. Nelman now has the opportunity to actually go for a bit of a challenge, but he doesn't want to take it. He doesn't want to risk his life. It's a very tight angle, of course, that they need to worry about.
And Mark is a great gun for it. He's more than happy to sort of sit up. Another Rotero slips its way past the... Well, he does finally get the shots in it, but the gate has been opened as well, so he's just going to sort of pull himself back. Remember where the site is. It's a slowing down of the approach here from G2. They've got the castle onto drum. They've got the way of just sort of limiting the pace that G2 wants to apply here, and they're making sure that every step and second step has to be weighed up and counted. That won't get opened just as of yet. Able to find the coverage there, and they'll steadily get control of Geisha, but it seems like generally, no, apart from one very aggressive position here through the side of the drum, spotted by a drone, and forced out of place. Mark, though, he looks like he might try and retake.
Still a very heavy top floor hold that we're seeing from Elevate. 3 out of 5 players are going to be up on the top floor. That is going to be giving away hot pings about Doki, so they might actually be able to punish him if he goes a bit more aggressive. He's going to be finding the player. Just saw someone walk by. Mr. Punch takes him down before he could strike, though. Goes aggressive instantly after. Knows there's going to be a second player around, but cannot quite connect.
There's someone coming up the same stairs, though, in Alamau. Somehow able to entirely deep dive, and that's 2 G2 players that have shot the same fake woman. DCH, he's tucked around close on the corner. They don't know he's able to get one just before Alamau sees him himself. They're either side, and well, at least he got something for Elevate. Onigiri, oh, he's offering some cover, but I think Virtue's about to get a bit of a strike here onto Gold. If they don't know about Mark, well, Mark might make them know. There's one. Sapper gets one as well, and Blur, he's once again the only one left here. He couldn't win the clutch out situation just before when it was a 1 versus 1, and now it's, well, not going to be one either. Elevate, once again in the lead.
And again, the defense should be easier for them compared to the attack. Just checking. Yep.
Here's the timeout. So let's listen in to G2.
Let's wake up now and not play and sit back and wait for things to happen to us. We've given away, I think, 7 entry deaths so far, and we have 1 entry kill. We are making mistake after mistake after mistake. Pull your ship together as individuals, and then we pull ourselves together as a team. Communication, coordination, get it together. We got it? We got it. Let's fucking go now, boys. Let's go. Turn this around.
If there's any...
Alamat almost left him hanging there.
Almost. Just gonna say, if there's anybody who knows how important it is to turn these things around, it's of course Fabian. Turned around a World Championship and back that. Either way, can G2 turn it around? Because he's right, like 7 entry kills went to Elevate, and there's not really anything they're doing to quickly turn that back around. It just feels a bit disjointed, the attack.
Oh, entirely.
On both sides, really, but G2 now predominantly considering they're the ones on attack. They're expected to win this. I mean, you saw the social polls earlier, 85%.
They're not just expected to win this, they're expected to win this handily.
Yes.
Because we've seen this G2 roster play really well. We've seen, let's put this into some context. We've seen this G2 roster play so well this tournament, G2 fans had a bit of hope again.
Yeah, they didn't need the hope.
and then you hit a moment like this where you're like, they just cannot quite get the synergy. And, you know, Elevate have had a rocky tournament. There's no two ways about it. This is some of the best that Elevate has been able to play. They're still eking scrappy rounds, but I think, you know, they've sort of been a bit heads down this whole tournament, and it's been rough for them. G2, because they've had these maps of being sharp and because they've had these big fights, coming into this sort of engagement, you know, you got to think of the teams that G2 have played, and it's been Koi, and it was a win, and it was W7M, and it was almost a win.
Yeah.
And that is huge, huge in this group of death.
If they only were able to win that against W7M, it would have been over already. They would have been in the clear. And now to find themselves in a spot that if they do not win the game against Elevate or take a map from Elevate, they might actually get knocked out. Which would be just crazy to think about, considering how their first 2 games went. Either way, line scans coming through, drones are coming in as well. G2, are you going to be communicating, working together? Oh! How did that not turn out into a bit of damage? Was that friendly and friendly? I think that might have been friendly.
Yeah, you see engagements like that, and you're always
just a quick.
Your first instinct is like, wow!
Either way, Onigiri, bit aggressive on the drum right here, aware of the fact that there might be some pressure coming through, and as his window gets opened up behind him, he falls back, wisely so, because otherwise it's going to be stuck between 3 G2 players. Mark pushing through, that's a shield. Not much you can do about that one. Also falls back, doesn't want to stick around. Now Elevate to do the right thing here. They don't need to take these engagements. Slow down the time. Let G2 come to you. Because that's how they've been able to find success so far.
That's it. Improve your play, and then the team will improve. Oh, a Mark almost gets Ben just slipped away, but that might be a bit of dedication too much. Down to the pistol, but look on the back end. DCH with the rotate. Doesn't quite get it either way, and this is what we mean. It's so scrappy. Mark still popping the pistol shots, wants to slip his way past Dragon. Alamau finds Onigiri. DCH has pulled himself back ground. They're still watching the flank now, and now they've got 3 extra bodies to do it with. G2, they found some success on the entry engagement, and from there, success might follow. The Talon Shield comes in second. The C4 doesn't get anybody shot out in a crowd, and leaves just DCH here against 4 Titans ahead. Is going for the plant if he can get this. The impact does get the movement and the motion. 29 seconds. They're trying to shoot him and go fishing. He wins out a huge fight underneath. They're going for the plant once again. He's going to see if he can find it. They've picked up and handed away. 20 seconds. And he's concerned about just where the hatch might come through. There's consistent pings. They have intel, and this is causing a little bit of chaos and a little bit of confusion. One more fight on the stair set. They've drawn his attention. He's not going to be able to stop the plant this time round. Huge. Could have been a defining moment there for the Solace, but now the only solace they have is a bit of silence as they try and piece things together with this, the 30 seconds. Sprayed a bit over to the side, looking for individual fight, but look at this G2. They've entirely pulled themselves back. Two of them are watching the top of the house stairs. One of them the kit itself. They know that everything has become impossible. And at this point, it's a G2 round.
As Fabian says, we are better. I'm just going to say, I'm having a bit of a, I was a bit anxious for G2 there because they didn't plan on the table first try. They knew the last player was going to be Solace. They knew the last player was falling back downstairs. They were hunting for it. And yet they're planting on the floor twice with impacts coming through. A third attempt on the floor as well, knowing fully well that a, P90 spray could just be coming through.
Yeah.
If they would have just gone on the table right away, you hold the staircase, that's it. You're still in a 4v1. There's no way you're losing that.
They did at the end.
They did at the end,
but I think
they should do that first thing.
This is a very good comparison, and it's a strange direct comparison over the games that we've casted of experience. That golden word of players like Blur, sort of on the SI stage in early time and trying to piece that together under what is the highest stress environment of this game in terms of a tournament. You go back a couple of days, and Julia from W7M was in a similar position of a Solace hunting them. I think it was on club a couple of times. And the first instinct he always had, as soon as he was like, there's pressure underneath, hopped up. He beelined to it, he didn't wait for it. And there, Blur, he went to a couple of different positions, he suffered a bit, he wasn't quite sure if he needed to make the fight. And then eventually he got up there, whether it was a call from a team or it was. And that difference of a few seconds in the grand scheme of things is life and death in this game and is experience and confidence.
That's it. That could have cost them the round if that didn't happen, if that call didn't come through. Just I would have liked to see it just instantly come in, like, hey, get on that table. Just plan there. Nothing he can do from below. Benja gets taken down, though, by DCH. Minnow was playing the Solace just previously. He's now on the Mozzie. Using the P10 Roni. Initial kill onto the Nuck. Not quite sure if Benja was trying to go for a bit of a sneak in, something that we have seen from both these teams happening. Yeah, might have been. Hit a Pentry. Couldn't get any further than that. But Doki is taking up that role himself now. He's in barbecue, has the opportunity to go up there at the Black Stairs. He's going to be trying to use one of these grenades to get rid of a player, but it's not going to be connecting.
Sprayed over the door, and Blur just gets DCH. Not entirely sure what he was trying to accomplish there, but Benja does get caught out as well, so the engagement is still bouncing back and forth on Agiri. He's able to get one off the end of it, but only one really left in his health there. Trying to find the fight underneath. Mark is looking for the scrappy engagement, but it's not easy to take. It's a bit of awkward territory above compared to below. The spray over the top, but you're only going to meet Blur on a Talon shield, the break of your own shield, and the rotation up towards Karaoke window and up Black Stairs. G2, they're going for the pinch later on. They've been able to do a lot of the groundwork earlier. There's a huge take back from Mark and Mr. Punch, looking for one more over the top of the Black Stairs. They know where Blur is set up. Just on the opposite end, he's a little bit isolated. As soon as he tries to slink away outside the side of the Talon shield, it's going to be a bit of a disaster.
Jäger's still waiting with an M870 shotgun as well. Mark in a close angle, Mr. Punch. He's the one that's holding everything together right now. From the back of Geisha, he has that long angle. He has full HP and an MP7. He can protect Mark if they come through the hallway. Doki takes down Mark. He's going to be taken out. It's going to be actual shots coming down to Mr. Punch as well. Sapper needs to start rotating in because the side could be taken now by G2. I believe that's exactly what they want to do. Get that shield in there. Try and go for a plant because there is no explosives left they could go for. And that means they will have to rely on their gunfight now. The M870 is not going to be doing much against this shield. It's Doki that is aware of the fact that there's still one in Geisha and one coming through. He needs to cover perfectly now.
It's the rotate round on the T-room side. They've got themselves propped up. There's only 15 seconds, and Doki is doing big bits. Can he get the last kill on the corridor? It's a post plant once again. We find ourselves with the 2 plants in a row after the team talk, and while the M870 is good in close proximity, and they are not giving him that. 2 Talon shields watching either side of a rotate. A little bit too wide for the wings there, but as soon as he swings either side, he knows there's a second that's going to find him. They're happy to dabble and dance. Zappa does get the first with the pistol. Blur has it all to play for. He's peppering shots and finally finds it.
Okay, that got again close there, but very, very loud noise coming out from G2. Because they're 1 round away from qualifying themselves to the playoffs of the Six Invitational here in Montreal. Now, when he managed to get that first one-tap with a pistol, I was like, there's no way he gets this, right? And he starts swinging with the M870, and all you need is just that one lucky pump, and you might have just picked up that kill instantly, but G2, they hang on for now.
Attackers need to locate
For now.
They somehow come back now. I mean, that take, they've tried it twice before, didn't really work out well. They got like picked apart massively. Now it worked out. Because of the crossfires being set up, because of the long angles that they managed to utilize there. So well done, but they lost the entry again, and that is something that they should stop having happen against them. So far, round 11, 3 entry kills went to G2, 8 went to Elevate. Their lucky Elevate's conversion rate is not very good right now.
10 seconds left before insertion.
12th round.
5
Either
seconds
G2 is going to be knocking Elevate out of the tournament, with still having maps to play, or we are headed to overtime, where Elevate wants to continue to fight for their survival. They're headed back to karaoke. 50-50 so far.
Unfortunately, been a little bit quiet from the gun side of Elevate recently, especially on Ngiri. We highlighted just the difference they needed to make a few rounds ago, and since then they've only really been able to make one body. In the meantime, Doki and Alamau, they've been able to keep themselves thriving in the gunfight. It was something that, as Fabian pointed out, they were missing some of those engagements. Let's see if they can try and thread just one more round to get themselves locked in. It entirely changes the face of this. If you were unaware, if Elevate lose a single map, they are gone. They are not going to find themselves leaving groups. G2 will.
Yeah, and G2 just need a single map today or tomorrow to do the same there. So either way, openings are being made. Again, the entry kill will go to Elevate, and Ngiri takes him down. Benja gone, your Heartbreacher, or one of them at least. Instead of Ngiri falling back after the RC return, he's got a bit more aggressive towards the top of Dragon, hoping to catch another G2 player off guard after we found one already. Of course, not having had the best of games so far here. Probably not be very happy about the fact that he got picked up that early.
I mean, Benja, yeah, he's not really dug his teeth into this. Obviously, the newest addition, the sort of young gunner to step into that situation. It's a good position in a trade. Still, he's been kind of impactless. It's not so much that we've, you know, had him do these big power plays. We know he's possible of a swing round. And Doki, though, has been the impact that you need the Flying Scotsman to be. A swing and a pre-fire to the angle, the grenades underneath the player inside Geisha, who's going to pop pistol shots and get Blur. Zappa, he's looking for one more out the door, but as the floor explodes around him, he's going to try and just tuck himself a little bit safer. Here, Doki, he's pushed himself right up inside Drum. He's hoping to get the snap and the catch. He's expecting a swing around because he's now isolated the player on the opposite end. The Dragon gets caught out, though. He might be recoverable as long as they don't try and deep dive and get themselves entirely thrown in. Blinds over the top, and yep, that's just to buy themselves the safety. Virtue's offering the cover and support via the hollowed out drum itself, and you can see the guns of G2 are peppering over the top, but so is Mr. Punch. Gets the mid-revive. Alamau gets one back. He hops himself inside karaoke. 3 players. Not the first time that G2's been in a 1 versus 3 clutch. Would be the first time they've won it, though. The first fight's over gold. They've spread themselves out. There's one. The second is round on Black Stairs, running with the pistol over the top of the shield. Gets the little bit of a connection. Not enough. We are going to OT.
For his first map, Elevate happy with that. Of course, allows them to continue fighting for their chances. That was a great take from Doki. Just how were they unaware of the fact that Sapper snuck up that far with that pistol, finds that first kill, and rotates all the way back without being punished by any of the G2 players? It just shows that the karaoke is seemingly very hard to attack for G2. Now, there is going to be a bit of a curveball throw in the first round of overtime. Not headed back towards karaoke, which was won twice by Elevate. We are headed towards the bedrooms. First floor. We do not see this site very often. Thunderbird as well coming through. Also an operator that we see occasionally, but it's not like a mainstay operator, really.
It's the strange thing about Thunderbird is they're quite situational in a weird way for a mobile gadget.
Yeah.
In that there's certain holds that can be built around a Thunderbird. You look at like backlines, you look at, in some rare cases, there's people that play like the pocket salvation station and sort of add a little bit more mobility. But it's a good gun. It's a good gun in a snappy operator in the right hands. And, well, Sap has been a bit snappy throughout this game. Not quite up to the top, but generally everybody's at least been putting bodies down across the board.
Yeah, there's no one really lacking behind.
No.
Not really on either team. And yes, of course, not everybody is currently positive. You don't need to be. That's almost impossible. But, you know, they're definitely picking up important kills here and there. And that's what matters. Those impact kills, that's what it's all about. New claimers are being set up because they have been so effective throughout this game so far. Never know if you're going to be catching someone off guard, although it usually is G2 players running into them. And they're looking to find one back. Now, the hold is pretty much centered around Exhibition here, and as the Bandit is currently putting down the Bandit wires, they will be aware of the fact that someone is up on the top. Next that thermic you use on a castle barricade as well is not something you do often see.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at what else they could have used there. Ben just still has one, but you kind of need to use them in the right places, and look at that, the mobility there. They're wondering just how to break themselves through. The lack of stuff, they're going to hit the wall instead. So they have the entrance, the angle. They force that castle to be a bit wider. They've got a single player locked above, and it's one of the reasons this site is quite lesser seen is there's so much verticality. And yeah, okay, we see the opposite end of this site, but it's easier to sort of hold a top down than a bottom up. And at this point, you can see the pressure is sort of making this force rotate or a player life.
It definitely is. I mean, Mark, all he can do is basically head down the staircase safely now, right? That's all he has left for himself to go with. Especially with Doki now being so far up as well. He's basically confined behind the desk. Now, he does have an extra member that is inside Exhibition that could provide some support, and as I say, that Benja does take him down, so now really the castle will need to fall back because it will start to come through, but Onigiri is there for the support as Elevate starts to, well, slightly fall back now with just a minute on the clock, starting to play vertically.
There's one more vertically. Mark's able to get it from bottom to top and rock out Doki, and you suddenly lost your Ashe and your Iana, and now you've lost one more, so Onigiri just pushed his way back up the house stairs a little bit. Virtue, a scrappy long-range engagement. Thunderbird gets Onigiri back to full health. Blood puts DCH to 0. And with 30 seconds-ish left on the clock, they got to see if they can try and formulate the takedown below. And now it's just going to be Blur once again in a clutch situation here. Not for very long once again. Elevate, they put themselves on map point.
Well deserved. They have been really in this game positively compared to what we have seen from them before. And of course, their attacks, I'm not going to say they're perfect because they weren't. They were very disjointed at places.
They were.
They were very chaotic.
Yes.
But they pulled through with the guns. In the end, it's still an FPS game. They managed to get those kills on the board. They deserved those rounds in the end. And this puts them in a spot now where they can take their first map of the tournament, their first point. And with that, at least delay the decision whether or not they will be going home for another map. And after that, potentially another day.
I mean, we said that there's a weight to this game. We said that these are the only two teams from this group that aren't locked in. It won't even be decided by this game if Elevate win. If they get anything less than 2 maps, it's decided. If they win, it's still up to G2 to potentially take it all tomorrow.
Yeah.
G2 just need 1 map over today.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. And, you know, they probably want more than that. They probably they want to climb up the rankings a little bit. It's a powerful group, and, you know, you want to be in the upper bracket. I don't know if they can get within the reach of the bye at this point. I'm not entirely
let me
sure.
pull that up quickly.
I think W7M are confirmed one of the top 2, but...
Yeah, but I don't think they are confirmed by.
Yeah, I don't know if they've quite been able to make the
G2 is indeed outside of reach for the bye, because it's 11 points W7M, G2...
Okay.
Oh, wait, yeah, well, actually, G2 can still get 8 points. It's, of course, 4 points instead of 3. So,
It is.
technically possible, depending on
Technically possible.
W7M.
Your favorite kind of possible.
Yes, if it's technically possible, it's still possible. But they would need to win this.
They would.
Put it up like that.
And that starts with winning this. The round that is ahead of them. You've heard of best of ones. It's best of round. This round is the make or break. A little bit of a hello and a goodbye there. They're sort of making a statement. And one of the things I said about Elevates later on in attacks is they seem to lack a bit of the structure, the synergy, and the sanity of some of their earlier ones. Even they sort of look for an advantage. They find it. Great take. Almost suffers on the back end. Tries to lean straight back into the next engagement. Blur pulls back though. You need the Azami alive for as long as possible, especially to try and just hold onto the space around Drum. Doki should be the next step in and steps up towards the top of the house stairs, waiting for maybe someone to enter, maybe someone to swing around, maybe someone to repel. But it's just calls for now.
Those will turn off. Nothing really to be worried about too much yet. That entry kill does hurt though. But look at G2, very much focused towards the east. You do not see anybody in Geisha, you do not see anybody in the karaoke room. Everybody's basically focused towards Dragon or Terrace, because well, that is really where Elevate is trying to push from right now. Frostmats are being spotted out, so no one's really going to be stepping into that. But DCH, he's going to go on a bit of a flank. Now he's right below, he's waiting to see if he can maybe catch up ahead as they pass by. But if he does come up the black stairs, I mean, that's just a shooting gallery for him.
Oh, Blur was tempted to just have a peek down this grenade. He's going to have a peek up, and this is a little bit misthrown there. DCH almost did a boo-boo. Instead, the boom-boom allows him to keep going. 45 seconds, and they've got to try and get the swing round. Doki with a very important take on a Giri. Stopped just before the pressure started to hit gold. You can see the smokes buying themselves more time. Alamau on a set of stairs with this shotgun. It's a pretty iconic duo throughout this series, but he knows he can still buy himself a little bit more time. It's maybe a more dangerous place, but look at the time and look how far away Elevate are from actually getting themselves in the kit. Doki with one more as well, and the attack has just run out of steam here from the side of Elevate. They're still looking for an engagement. Mark's able to find one. They can't quite slip themselves over the top. Benj is doing everything to hit them either side. Mr. Punch does find another slipped round, but with only 8 seconds left, Benja is able to just sneak in. He's able to hop over, get the kit cold, get himself tucked in. They're going to rotate away. Mr. Punch gets one. Can they get there in time? No!
And that means we're going all the way to 15 in this first map.
Shit, what a crazy game.
Alamau is like 100% correct in that one.
That's your voice clip
so far.
I mean, you know, you cannot put it better. The fact there it came down to Benja. We said he'd been a bit quiet earlier on. We said he hadn't quite had the impact over the past 2 rounds. He was on Ash for, I think, the first time, and he's able to get that opening kill that was so far away from G2 for most of the game, and then there comes in with the clutch at the very end of it. There's been a long list of clutch situations.
It has been, for sure.
But it's never really felt like you know you're going to get that.
Again,
it just really keeps happening.
Around yet. It's just like, so chaotic, and then someone clutches. It's like
Mr. Bean, the game. It's like Mr. Magoo. It's like people just keep slipping over, and then suddenly it's a clutch situation. Yeah. And it's tricky. It's tricky to piece a storyline, and you assume both teams and both coaches are going to see if they can try and shake the cobwebs off before the next map. But will the next map be as impactful as this? Elevate. 1 round.
Yeah, that's it. It's survival or qualification. This round will decide. Survival for Elevate or qualification for G2. It all comes down to this, and we're only in the first map. It is best of 3. Of course, if Elevate win this one, that means there's still an opportunity for them to be knocked out after the second map. Or tomorrow. Said it plenty of time before. Barbecue is going to be the site we're headed to, so overtime is Elevate's decision to go downstairs, to go to that first floor, see if they can waste as much time as they can on the top. But Alamau quickly entering from delivery. Head over towards reception, might be thinking about clearing out the house area or rotating around and head towards the pantry. Of course, where previously the first kill did come through. And Agiri fully aware of the fact that there is some pressure coming in. And that castle barricade is going to be stopping him from truly moving through. And Alamau also doesn't want to be showing his drone to anybody that might be looking underneath that castle barricade. So he's getting out some good spots and rotations out there. He's just pre-placing that drone for later on.
Well, more successfully throwing grenade. Will allow Bandra a little bit of wiggle room and width to start this. The cross-face aggression on towards Geisha, and above the site, they're doubling down with the first floor. They found success on Bedroom, the least seen of the sites on this map, and they're going to see if they can try and keep it on the ground level and the pace where they need it to be, hoping G2 will slow down a bit. And it has been a slower and steadier approach. It's been well formulated though. They haven't quite met an engagement as of yet, and we've seen some wild swings from DCH out of this window. But Mark is going to be the first swung on. Virtue on the back end. It's the fight around Dragon. There's a down underneath as well. Sapper has been caught out. There's got to be a bit of momentum here from Elevate. They've got to see if they can try and win something back. I'm not entirely sure what did get Sapper. I think they should be able to get him back up. There he is.
Might have been a grenade attempted to open up a barricade either way.
Potentially misthrowing grenade.
Potentially got that. That's going to be a return kill. DCA punch both find one. He does go quite low, but he's back in a 3-on-3 situation. Scrap death coming through as Blur and Alamat both will pick up one. It's now only up to Mr. Punch and Onigiri. Can they hold on? That's the big question here.
Onigiri hoped they'd lean back into the fight, but look at Blur and look at Adamal. They want to see if they can try and get this kit planted and put some pressure back on. It's when G2 had some structure, but they only have 29 seconds. Virtue's on the second story, keeping the lockdown and cutting the rotate. There's a swing round, and Mr. Punch, he suddenly has a straight eye right towards where Blur is. They're going to see if they can try and force the fight first, and they do. Massive one from Blur. He's going to get the barb, get this stuck down. Onigiri's concerned about the rotate. The star talisman player for a team cannot quite make the mark, and G2, they confirm themselves out of groups.
Holy shit, guys! Oh my god, man!
And the disbelief is on their hands.
They qualified, they did what they needed to do. Now it's up to them to get as many points as they can to put themselves in a higher seed. Before we head towards that second map, let's head over to a quick break before we continue with the second map.
That's right, guys.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
welcome back here to a group that is now, in a way, locked in, and you gotta feel a bit for Elevate. Fan favorites, favorites of this desk as well. And that's maybe the saddest I've ever seen.
Anagiri's like crying.
I know, and it's rough. It's so rough because it's the biggest tournament.
Yeah, it is, and they have been playing well throughout the year. They had some unfortunate events where they couldn't attend events they qualified for, and now they come up here. They haven't won a single map yet. Just the hopes of making it went down the drain as well. But like, if you're crying like that, and Nagiri's been the top performer for like the majority of the games, right? It's like, I don't think this is going to be helping them like much.
It's not about that. It shows.
It shows how much they care.
It shows how much this tournament means, and that's the thing to take away from all of this is this means everything. You dedicate hours and hours of your day, and days of the week and weeks of the year to this, to being here on this stage. You're playing in a game against, a team that has some of the world's greatest around it, involved in it, behind it, on this very stage, and you want to be your best, and falling short hurts more than anything else. But there is one thing that you cannot argue, and there's one thing that you cannot doubt, is Elevate have had an exceptional year. They have been the heart and the soul of a region, for my money.
I mean, there was so many people like rooting behind them as well, just cheering for them. And it's just unfortunate to see that they haven't been able to replicate the same success they were able to show in previous tournaments. But it just hurts. Like, they're broken. It's of course, no one wants to go out like this, and they're all fun guys with a lot of talent. And every single person that plays Siege in a competitive level, may that be Tier 1, may that be Tier 4, their eventual goal is to make it to the Six Invitational.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's literally everything Siege is about. Make it to the Six Invitational, and if you are the best of the world, lift that hammer. And see that dream like go up in smoke right now, that just hurts. I mean, you said it. It's like, this is what it's all about. This is what they work an entire year towards. But either way, there's still a map to be played. And that is going to be Bank.
All right, boys. Let's give them a show. Let's get into this Elevate and let's see what we can deliver. You're in the group of death. It was never going to be easy, and unfortunately, this will be potentially it. Maybe one map, maybe two. And then hoping, I guess, that somebody from this group ends up winning it, because then you at least can sort of say, well, I might have come fifth. You'd probably don't.
I could have come fifth, you know? It's like, let's say, these 4 teams that end above them all get like 1 to 4. Then it's like, yeah, we could have been fifth. Who knows, right? It's like, we did our best. And they definitely did. I'm just afraid of how this map will play out, because it could either be they're all unleashed, there's no stress anymore, there's nothing they can play for, so they will be playing on the best that they can. Or this could be a very quick shutdown coming in from G2. Indeed, sending Elevate home with just, not a single map on their names. But we'll see, as we're headed towards the basement first. Security room. Figure out how the approach of Elevate will look like. Now, a Twitch is on the board.
Yes.
Did a Dokkaebi no longer? No, wait, actually, Dokkaebi to Dokkaebi.
You're playing the fun game of pulling operators before they're logged in. Amateur mistakes.
I mean, I can do it up until 2 seconds, then they're all locked in.
And then the audience can see this on the screen.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. You got to talk about things the audience can't see.
But I see as much as they see.
Wow. Make things up. We're locked in. What we can talk to you about is the fact that it's Bank. Bank itself has seen a pretty mixed bag of play throughout this tournament in terms of attack and defense success rate. It really comes down to the team more than anything. And as we've seen from Elevate, they can be good attackers. They just haven't really been throughout this tournament, unfortunately. Let's see if they can get off to a bit of a swing start here. Doki on the road, playing himself towards the top of stock, going for a bit of a loose swing, a bit of a loose idea. Onigiri with the Twitch drone already in sight. Get an early pop on these canisters. Very good use of the utility. There's one more that he's just rolled by on his feet, but Virtue, because the fire stops him, can't quite get the drone. Someone else will.
Yeah, so that drone is not going to be dealing too much more damage. DCH already in the building though. Top of square, holding down into archives, hoping to catch a G2 player off guard. And you know, if we think about Skyscraper, they've been able to do that quite a lot actually. Just wait and let the G2 players come to them. It seems like it might be a different map that G2's playing. Also, of course, a lot of pressure off their shoulders because they are confirmed to be going through now. So all they need to do is just wait and let LFA come to you because they know how to defend. And Bank is a very stable map for them. They are very time-oriented here. As soon as the clock hits 1:45, they all start dropping back towards that ground floor, except for Doki. He's just been droned down. There he goes. It's not going to be sticking around too much long, Rider. So a minute 30 now, 90 seconds. And everybody of G2 is currently finding themselves near or around the site.
Wastes a really good amount of time here. The pressure's coming down from the top of the hatch, but Alaman has the full read, and as long as he's not pressured inside Garage, he's happy to play this spot. He can even swing himself a bit further back, play against the soft, and with the openings that they've already got, the C4 over the top. Doesn't quite get the catch, a bit further away. The motion already saving Elevate's life, but with a minute on and the angles being opened, it's always that conversation of push to shove. Doki is the first one to shove back up through the elevator. Is able to find the head of Mark. The next Twitch drone is just trying to slick its way, but gets caught on the monitor. Can't get the freedom to get rid of it. 45, and how are they going to try and batten down the hatches?
It would have actually been huge if you managed to grab that Goyo canister. Doki.
Oh no!
3 kills. The diffuser dropped as well. Oh, that's not good for Elevate. They see him go by. Are they going to be trying to pick him up while he rotates back past this keeper barrier?
They have to give it their all.
Yeah, they have to give it everybody because otherwise they're not winning this round. 20 seconds. They need to kill him, pick up the diffuser, and then still try and get the plant through.
The break on the keeper barricade, but they are more than happy to play this. Doki, he's able to get his third for the round. Blur gets one more. Onigiri left alone on the wrong side of a smoke canister, and oh, this has been a tragic start to continue a tragic day here for Elevate.
Good stuff from G2. Staying patient, and that's something they didn't do on Skyscraper. They were swinging too much. They were walking into the crossfires that Elevate set up. And they're making them work now, and that's working out for them because but the amount of time they waste, it forces Elevate into that, well, tricky situation of having to maybe forget about certain spots, maybe not truly have the flank watch up to, like, speed. And what happened there? Doki rotating back up, taking out the diffuser, that's your round over. Because that's 20 seconds.
Yep.
A player's still up there with the diffuser. You didn't have anything secured on site. It's almost unwinnable at that point.
It's that tricky sort of sentiment. It's where we're at in terms of the mental game. It's where we're at in terms of that idea of those mistakes, those little raw moments. You know, you're playing the game and trying to play it your heart's out. And we've seen teams play when eliminated before. Usually it's not immediately on the back of being eliminated. They're asking you to go back in. It's like, you know, that gif of the girl and she's like crying and doing the dance and putting on her makeup and stuff like that. It's like, you need to go and try and perform. You need to go and try and perform against a team that is one of the best teams in the world when you're in this sort of position of trying to get your heads back on after you've lost the match. It's in no way easy. And I couldn't imagine being able to do it, but that's why I'm not one of the top 20 teams in the world.
I mean, that's it, right? They had about 3 minutes.
Yep.
After losing that map and having to get back in. There's no way you can deal with that emotionally. That is...
So it's going to be rough, and we're going to see, I think, little moments like that where things are going to bite back. Doki, I mean, if we're going to talk about one side being in a pretty bad spot. G2 still have the potential of playing themselves towards the top of the group. They can try and play themselves into the upper bracket. They wanted to see if they can push this advantage, get a 2-0, and get themselves the full 4 points. And Doki, who was on a pretty good showing in the first map, is going to see if he can continue that here onto Bank. The Azami just going to swing up square once again. Why not? They have the protection from stock. Ben just watching pillars underneath as well. DCH is going to push lower square and trade it out.
At least they managed to get that trade instantly, though, but just shows how confident G2 is currently. Onigiri will be shutting down Blur, but the amount of rotation that they're showing right now, just willing to go at it, left, right, and center, not being afraid about being picked up. It tells you a lot that you need to know. Mark fully aware of the fact that there's a player on the top of the staircase waiting for him to jump in from the window. Virtue unaware of that. Grenade is about to be tossed in. Virtue's quickly dashing out. He doesn't want to be caught off by that, but someone from top square almost did. So he drops down.
Well, there's Mark slapping back and keeping the momentum going. Make sure they keep that body balance in their favor. The trade game is a massive one against a sort of game with this many big guns inside of it. Benja and Alamau, two very big guns that are kind of the last line here, holding on. They still have some pocket utility, not a huge amount, and they're just going to see if they can try and buy themselves some time. They buy a fight, get the down, go for the confirmation, but it costs them. And there's a bit of a spray from a long range. Benja in the drop of the hatch, these two hit the ground. They know exactly where he is. They're hopped up and Elevate respond with a round of their own.
Then straight up go for the pickup there. They realized, okay, it's going to be a 1v3 now. Let's not give them the opportunity, or him the opportunity, to get himself ready on the side. Let's just instantly go for it. Forget about that pickup. We're dropping the hatch. We're going for that kill. Good decisiveness coming out from Elevate there, still showing that they have fight left in them. As they punish G2 for doing the exact opposite of what I said they were doing well in round one. Round one, very passive.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Sitting
bombs
around
as
a
they
lot,
can.
waiting, falling back when the drones came through. And of course, Doki went for a flank afterwards. But this round, he was basically constantly running up and down the staircase up until he did get caught in a trade kill. Big difference compared to what we've seen before. And then Blur also being caught off by Onigiri from the skylight, and suddenly you find yourself in a man disadvantage. Not ideal.
All right, in we go, back and forth. Is it going to be a repeat of the first map? Potentially. We have a whole room of growth here, and as I said, Bank has really sort of been a preferential disco. Everybody's flashing lights, everyone's wearing funky clothing and seeing what can be the snazziest look here on a map that has a bit of a strange shape to it. Obviously the big open space on one, all the way buried down to a lockdown on the bottom. But the full stretch and extension seems to be G2's preferred MO here, holding themselves on a site, to be honest, that in EU at least you don't see a huge amount. You'll sort of get more of a taste of it. It's based on the preference as well. But between this and CEO, it's sort of a little bit of a weighted coin.
I mean, if you look at the lineup of G2 as well, there's not much of any denial out here. So it's focused on fragging and, you know, some information with the Legion being out there, but it's mostly on being flexible. That's what this lineup is about. They want to make sure that they hold on to the top as long as they can. If they then need to fall back downstairs, that's fine as well. Of course, they will have Virtue, who can do some architecture with those keeper barriers, but there's no plan B, it seems like. There's no C4s, there's no smokes. If they do get in and plant, it's going to be a full-on retake. Only 3 more impacts to create these vertical angles if they haven't already. 2 minutes past. DCH coming through. He's walking in. Don't believe the player on stock has been spotted. He's aware of the fact that someone could be coming in from Janitor. But Blur is holding a passive angle here.
Ooh, not very passive, yeah. He thought he heard you and said, am I? And then decided to try and swing out and get DCH. Gets the bite on Onigiri. Fight on the windows. Virtue's making sure that they're not entirely swarm aside. The Azami barricade onto one. The Keeper's doing their job. This grenade to try and do its own, but swings a little bit around the corner and a bit too far away. There's also an approach coming from underneath, and I love Sam Cam's on this map, the big open space. You can tuck them in on far away corners and get such a good overarching idea, just like this, of where a lot of the hold is. The ping's on one, look at that, instantly followed up by Mr. Punch with a very far away fight through the soft wall. They're going to see if they can try and remove the Janitor's player, because that is a big linchpin position. And Onigiri somehow able to swing out the down onto Benja.
Was supposed to get away with that. Benja not able to drop the hatch. Mr. Punch will be able to secure him in time. That means man advantage is back into favor of Elevate here. Verticality slowly being established here. Mark with the sledgehammer. Opening up. Getting some pings on players, so hoping to open up right above them. Is going to try and find Blur, but doesn't quite connect to the head. Blur goes aggressive. Not quite sure what he's doing out there. Gets picked up.
I think he is either.
I don't think he was aware of the fact that someone was above, but Alamau's there for the cover, so Blur stays in it. Oh, as Alamau and Doki both find another. Turning up to Mark now with a sledgehammer up above. He's rotating down the main stairs, 13 seconds. Can he do it?
10 seconds left.
He's pre-firing angles, but G2's handing him nothing. Doki step back in one side, Alamau's low on the other. And once again, Alamau and Doki throughout this series, throughout the tournament, they're able to keep the fight alive, drive them back in. G2 around for round there, back up 2-1. But it's still far from over, I think, this series.
This was a crucial pick as well. Together with Doki, suddenly turns it back around within just the matter of a second. 2-1. Elevate, still on the attack. I mean, there's definitely been some improvement compared to what we've seen over the rest of the tournament. They are a bit more cohesive. They are working together well. I mean, their information game is on point. I saw it last round in Skyscraper. You see it now with the SAM cams, just the pings and instantly following up through the wall to get these kills. It's just that we need a little bit more of that. No SAM cams for now, at least. There's still opportunities to repick. There's a Jackal coming through. And that might mean that they are struggling indeed with taking care of these G2 roamers up on the top floors.
10 seconds to
And thus they're going to be using that scanner to give themselves a bit of a hot ping, have themselves, and I think, no, okay, the repick comes through. It's a line instead that will be chosen. So different way of dealing with roamers. Potentially start putting up a pressure on point A, then you use the line scanner. If they start to move, you know where they are. Otherwise, you can just move in on them because you know where they are anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's see if Doki can cause as much trouble as he did before. Obviously, slightly different operator, but Capcan, I mean, you can swear by Capcan. You see it in the game itself and ranked, and you see it in certain comp setups as well. They're just so malleable. They can slow people down. Even if you're playing like this on the roam, you're just buying time. You're making them second guess everything. You see a Capcan, and suddenly every single door gets a question mark over it, and you've got to slow down a bit of a pace. And time is something that has been a bit of a punishing factor here. The player should just get the drone out. They think they have an idea on where Doki is. They're going to see if maybe they can surround him and get a lockdown. There's a bit of rotation underneath.
I don't think they've actually drone him. I think they just went through. Because Doki didn't shoot it. Now drones are coming through his window, so he'll be falling back. But I think he might have just let that drone live, give them the ID. It's going to be clear. They jump down and can then pick up the kill. But doesn't matter now. Minutes passed. ECH. Is he aware? He might be aware.
I think they're aware. Oh, the timing. Doki is aware as well, and yeah, it's a lot of near misses. The grenade comes around. Doki gets himself out of there. As he did before, he knows he's trying to waste time, but he's not trying to get wasted himself. Onigiri's going to push behind. DCH does find Benja, though, this time around. They're able to get the opener. There's some last-minute Capcans. Hey, may as well get the traps down and lay it out. Makes them second guess, and maybe they've checked those drones. We'll have to check them once again. Onigiri and Doki, a scrap over the top of the hatch. Pre-fires, and it's Doki. Baits it with a couple of bullets, slapped around the side of the rim, and then ends it.
Just waiting for the DMR to stop firing, often indicating that that reload is there. Instantly goes back in with the SMG. And that's that bit of an advantage you have, of course, with an SMG. You can just hold down the trigger if you go for the pre-fire. It's a bit more difficult to do that with the DMR. Alamau taking a small amount of damage as well, but he's aware of the fact that the player is right above the hatch. He's, of course, waiting to use that C4 again, but the grenade will roll through. It's not going to be doing any damage. Still 4-on-4, 40 seconds left on the clock. What do Elevate really have under control? Well, they're starting to push the main stairs. They do have some servers trying to go for a reverse plant right now. Is there a C4? Yes, there is one currently pulled. It's going to be tossed in as well. Is it in time? Should be. That's that denied.
Yeah, that's it. It pops the fire as well. They're going to have to wait a bit, and Blur is happy to sit and wait himself. It was a much more structured approach towards the plant this time. DCH does get a nice little pick there onto Alamau on the side. Virtue and Doki are slightly injured, but at this point, with 3 of them to go and only 10 seconds, well, 2 of them are stacked up on one side, 1 on the other, and G2, they get themselves 2 rounds in a row. A bit of a rarity in this showdown.
It definitely has been, because so far it has been really back and forth. And this was what I was talking about. DMR stops firing, Doki instantly goes in. C4 just in time as well. Everything connected in that round for G2. So, well done. Quickly going to check. Have we seen back-to-back rounds? No, haven't really.
We have. There's been like 1.
1-0, 1-1, 2, 1-2-2, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4-4.
You're just saying numbers. You're just saying numbers, Hap. It's like you're losing it. You're like seeing the Matrix.
I'm just trying to, you know, just go by. Have we seen it?
I wish I could tell you what they're saying. I cannot.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But maybe there's some Thai fans watching. And we find ourselves slinking back into the game. CEO will head up to the top floor. See if we can, I guess, G2 try and keep pushing on this advantage. Elevate between them and the rest of this map. The only timeout that will be ahead of them, I mean, maybe attack, but attack will have to be G2's favor. Can they force them to it? These next 2 rounds will be massively telling. If they don't find themselves an even half here, things could be a little bit spicy. They are better on their defense. There's no 2 ways about that.
Yeah. But you need more than a single round. You need that buffer, which is what allowed them to be that close in that last game, which became that 8-7 victory for G2, because they managed to find those 3 rounds on the attack. So it's kind of what we're hoping to see here as well.
10 seconds to go.
All right, Doki. I mean, 8-1. You sort of, it's like a glass half full, glass half empty, depending on if you're looking at Doki stats or Virtue and Benjas at this point. You've got a player that's going off massive, whereas a couple of other players haven't quite been able to get off the mark yet. You know, it's early doors in the game, but still, you're lucky that you've got Doki going so big. The players L3-2-1 and Alamau, they're putting things in. There's not really any direct comparisons. Elevate, in the same sort of breath, they've had quite an even approach to this game. It's not top-heavy in any sort of way. There's a lead-in that's been a bit of a 5-fingered slap, but not quite as effective.
And they're averaging like 2 kills per round on Elevate, so it's not really looking good for them. You need to be able to put more on the board here. Like Doki, he's on A. Onigiri, he was doing very well in the last game as well, but of course, you saw him cry earlier on. He's very upset by the fact, and everybody would be, that they're knocked out. Probably doesn't help him early on in the game. Might see that turnaround as this map progresses. Out of the way, Onigiri in very quickly below. He's going to be seeing if he can cut someone off, maybe going up the main stairs next, I believe. Checking if the camera was on, which wasn't the case, so he doesn't shoot it. Because if you shoot it, you'll know you've been there.
Yep, and that's it. If that camera exists and no one's there, well, you can Mission Impossible your way up the stairs. Sapper is doing the same thing to Janitors. Is he going to get the right swing? He's looking for the player, and there it is. Blur gets a couple of peppered shots off, so they just got the C in the cool before it happened. Doki's watching the back end. There's pressure onto Stock. He's wondering where that came from, but it's Sapper who's stacked himself up close. On the meantime, the windows, they're being hit against it. Mark's been able to get the Talon shield down. They want to see if they can try and get the plant. The break on the Ossa, they can get that sorted. Then Benja with the C4 can get that sorted. You cannot really do those plays if you don't have the security of the room underneath. So Tellers is just as vital to this. Sapper, he loses out the fight on the swing round, but Mr. Punch does take Alamau in the same breath, and as Mr. Punch is trying to fight his way back in, it's Onigiri that finds Doki snuck up the stairs, but Benja catches the blindside sprint, and Virtue finds one, and once again, between these two teams, a 1 versus 1. DCH is in a much more awkward position, though. on the windows. It's either a big rotate all the way around or a blind swing in here, and he's got to opt for the rotate because of this. The way they've opened things up, it is an absolute firing line that Benja would have there. So DCH picks up sticks, heads around to the opposite side, and starts to bury his way towards top square. It seems like the call came out there for Benja, who does have control of the kit, the spray through the plant, but it's surprisingly sturdy, those leaves, and DCH is just going to have to push himself closer and closer. The rotate down to the bottom of square, he's going underneath, and he shoots to the top. Benja!
Whilst he was dropping, he managed to find that headshot out there, brings it to 4-1. He just said, well played. That's all he said.
Well, that's what he says, but
I have to say that
I think Alamau said better than Spoit.
It could be. But I like the approach Elevate went for, and of course they made that crucial mistake of trying to go for the plant whilst they didn't really have archives under control. But they had quite a lot of control. They had stock, they cut down any rotation that could be coming back to site. They had the initial opening, they had people on the windows, they had the also talent shield. All they didn't have was information on Benja's location. If they knew Benja was down in archives, they wouldn't have gone for the plan because of that C4 that picked up the kill. And it's just these tiny things, right? Because if you look at it, everything was in the right place.
Yep.
The tiny piece of information that they did not have is costing them around in the end there.
Well, I said Elevate wanted the even half. Now they've lost 3 rounds in a row, something that hasn't really happened in this series. And they've done it either side of attack timeout as well. Don't start quoting numbers.
I'm not quite.
I'm going to cut you off at the number pass.
It's fine.
But D2 still have one more chance to get themselves set up for a 5-1 here. Elevate, they've got one more attack. Just to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room. A 4-2 isn't the end of the world. Quote, however many times they're better and more comfortable in the defense here, and there's a bit more room to play with, but still, it does put you closer and closer to that death knell of suffering no maps won here at SI 2023.
Yeah, that is not how you want to be going home. Now, Elevate, what do you have planned for this? It's a bit of a stuck drone out. Manages to break through in the end for Duowire. Isn't actually going to be able to pick up that drone. But there's going to be information on it. Benja finds an Agiri though, so that's the early shutdown. Not quite sure from where. That must have been somewhere on that first floor near the actual site already, or that could have been near the actual ATMs. DCH is looking to drone out that lobby now, knows about the player out there, but he's being watched. So do you take that 50-50? Seems like he was going to go for it, but at that point, it was Benja that already fell off. He wasn't willing to take that anymore after he had been droned out. Knew that it would be a disadvantageous fight to take.
They're the man down. They haven't been able to get the trade back on the back of it. I talked about the importance of that slightly earlier on in this game, and everyone's well aware of it. The pressure from G2 pulls itself back round. They're more than happy to swing in when they want to, but they know when to pull the pressure off. Look at this, the shotgun. Talking of pressure, oh, Alamau doesn't quite get the bite he wants, goes back for seconds and is left a little bit more satisfied. Sapper is removed. Doki, he's going to see if he can try and cause some problems underneath, but doesn't fully trust he's not being watched, so again, doesn't want to overpress. This is the thing about G2. When they are playing their game, they have a little bit more structure and control, something that the roster has missed from time to time in their recent year.
Pushing through, over the top. Still afraid that someone is still left behind here, so lack of information. The Gemini replicator should be fixing that. Oh, C4 comes through, takes down Mr. Punch. It's not looking too bright here. Mark and DCH, the only two alive. It's going to be a free kill to Doki, though, as Mark just comes through. The diffuser soon will be recovered, but they will be aware of the last 2 positions of Elevate now. DCH, top of square. What is he being gifted? Absolutely nothing here. Walls being closed off as well, so only a tiny angle he can look through here. He needs to be more afraid of Benja, I was going to say, but it just takes him out clean.
Who needs fear when you have a good gun and a good ability with it? They've got themselves round the back of blue. The pre-fire, Virtue gets one, DCH, and it's a very well-known flank. They trusted it because they couldn't otherwise push. A 5-1 half here on Bank on the second map on G2's. And this series is starting to look like it's theirs too.
And that's what they kind of need, right? 4 points would put them up a total of 8, which, depending on the previous result, could put them into second place. Probably will put them in second place nonetheless, because Koi is playing Space Station.
They are. Have you seen? I showed you the Claymore clip.
Yes.
So funny. If you guys haven't yet, please check out the Claymore clip from the other game when you have a moment. You'll know instantly which one I'm talking about. It's on the Twitter. It's on all the social networks.
But yeah, it could put them into G2 in second or third place, depending on what the result is going to be on the previous stream. And that, of course, would mean that they are going up towards the upper bracket and have that extra life they could work with. That's what G2 are fighting for. They've already got that qualification. All they need now is just the best possible placement to come in with. And as we go, 5-1. Elevate now on the defense. This is where they have the opportunity to...
Oh, no.
I was going to say start off strong. But Benja gets a wallbang through on Nagiri. That is not how they want to start this off.
Oh, that is the worst possible moment there for that to happen. Doki quick with the zip up to the top floor. They're trying to get this done with the pace that they needed. Onigiri locked out so early on. Yorick's the freewheeling huge gunner. Virtue making quick work here of Archives of the middle of the floor as well. It's just this from G2. It's pointed, it's direct. It's almost a game that we didn't expect to have from them, and I talked about in the first map was they can play like this. And now, unfortunately for Elevate, they're playing like this. 2 minutes left. Pressure on the hatches, a body in their pocket. And now we'll start to see if they can try and get the next.
Now, there is going to be, of course, the blue stairs hold. There is a shotgun out there. I believe it's Mr. Punch holding that one tight. If G2 realize this, they probably will be trying to either prevent it or going to be using a lot of utility to get rid of the player. But if you look at the current Elevate setup, there's 2 players out on the east, 1 in servers, 1 in blue. That means there's only going to be 2 players on the actual direct side. Let's say drops come through from elevator, the main stairs, etc., etc. You are going to be able to put down that plant while still isolating these 2 players with just having a single player left on the top floor. So G2, they have a lot to choose from right now and how they want to be approaching this attack if they do have the information on these players on the east side.
So Strone's getting the business done on the canisters inside the site, and there's this. The drop down the back. Sapper, a very important fight to win out on gold. Goes for gold second as well. He's looking for a hefty engagement here, but Blur going down in the mix. Benja suffering huge scraps of damage. Elevate somehow have eked themselves in and strong-armed a bit of a hold and knocked G2 back. Benja, he's trying to keep this going from the far. He's looking for the angles towards the potential plant. There's plenty of time here. 45 seconds. A bit of damage attempted, but they need to try and see if they can get this. The control of the rotate around the back end, the hatch drop from the top rope. There's one more for Mr. Punch. The smoke doesn't quite land where it wants to, and Virtue, he's cut for information. He doesn't quite know which way to look. Well, with a sliver of health, he's able to look down and get 1 up, a 2 versus 2. They're trying to find the long-range firefight. The sprays go against them, scrapes to rotate round to the main stairs. They're going to see if they can get a catch untested. They have some awareness, but Blur's got to head down. It's a 2 versus 1 for this time. Virtue wins the first. Can he find the next? Is it going to pop up? There it is! And welcome to the A stream. You might not be here very long. 6-1. G2 have just taken their first attack.
5 seconds remaining.
And as I mentioned, they could be going for these vault drops, for these elevator drops, because there is these 2 players out on the east. However, there's always a bit of risk with that, and G2, you know, they suffered from that. They lost some players. One went DBNO. Very scrappy final fight coming through, but experience coming through there, right? It's like they have been in that situation many times before. Just try and recover the player, like crawl out. Blur was literally 1 tick away from bleeding out. So the revive came through at the right moment. And then just trust in the cover. That's all you can do. You know one is upstairs. He's probably going to be coming down the staircase. And you know one was still on the side. And you make a choice. Who's going to be peeking first? And it was the right choice made by G2 there. 6-1, match point. For those of you at the A stream that just joined, if you do not know, well, you can see it on the top left of your screen. G2 has won the first map. That means that Elevate is knocked out. Haven't won a single map yet here at the Six Invitational. And G2 are confirmed for the playoffs. It's just points now that we're playing for. G2 trying to accumulate as many as possible to find themselves in the best opportunity, best seed they can find.
Oh, Elevate. It is a long, long road back if you want to try and claim a single map from your appearance here at SI 2023. It's come close, even so recent as the most recent map. But unfortunately, as we sort of said at the start and as we saw the players, I mean, how emotional would you be if you found yourself knocked out and then had to go right back into the ring against a team like G2 that still has all the fight and possibility of being the top seed of their group, depending on this result and the next, and they seem eyeing and ready to try and push towards it. Kanto might be the first bit of pressure here. DCH might find himself under a little bit of a smash and grab. The angles on the windows get popped up on the side, and G2 is fishing for players.
That's what I'm going to be doing now, using these grenades that Virtue and Doki carry along to, first of all, take out Kiba barriers, and second of all, potentially take down players. Mark gets taken out. I'm not quite sure why. Does that jump out?
No, it was just a swing through. It's the fight is breaking its way across Banana. Mr. Punch with a very important win back on. It's a bit of range there from Mr. Punch. He punches back, but Ben just swings around. Janet has a 3 versus 3. A Kiba barricade to buy themselves a second. Hopped on the table, and the Azami almost gets the fight, but gives the game, and Blur is the one that gets the final full stop. Only Sapper left for Elevate's hopes here of pulling a map and continuing on in the fight. They have, let's say, 1 HP. They sure have a dream, but they also have Virtue, Benja, and Blur still with pockets full of utility and bags of time to try and find their way here across the site and get it open. They know where the player is. The reveal on the drone. They're going to rotate around. The first fight is Sappers. Gets the down onto Benja, not the confirm, but it's enough to buy themselves a little bit of time. I'm not sure if they're going for the revive, but they're in a bit of a no man's land. No. Doubled up inside Janitor's Sapper. He's lined up. He finds the next. There's 2 off the board. It's a 1 versus 1 out of nowhere. And there it is, Sapper! They're not done yet.
Trying to stay in it here. The clutch comes through when we mentioned it in the previous map. If there's anybody clutching on the side of Elevate, it's Sapper time and time again. Bit of a sloppy ending though from G2. Giving them 3 1v1s really, the disconnect again in that round. Also the pistol attempt from Benja coming through the last one, not quite sure.
It's around the Fabian's mad about.
Yeah, definitely will be screamed at for that.
You just know that that is one that is underlined in his notebook.
Oh. Either way, it keeps them going for now, Elevate, and that might just be that little bit of hope that they need to get back into this, to try and find themselves a way to a map victory at Six Invitational. Because that's what they are still looking for. That's what they don't have. And everything else, playoffs, gone. No way they can get that. All they can attempt is a victory or a map win against G2.
10 seconds to go.
Now, after they managed to escape with their lives for just momentarily there, they're getting back into it.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Elevate. Going towards the open area. The entirety quad wall has been reinforced, although Nagiri is close towards the electrician area. Just hoping to go for a bit of an aggressive swing out. As soon as someone opens up that window, just comes by. Benja, a bit too quick of the trigger there. Takes him down. Again, the entry kill for G2.
That's twice over the last 3. Onigiri has been the first body off and caught super early into the round and a little bit unaware. And for a player that we said is a talisman player for this team, a record setter and huge in the previous game, he's really struggling these last little bits. G2 once again, they get themselves in with the first foot, the lead in. Snuck underneath. I'm not sure if that ping, I think that was the idea that the players nearby, they don't quite have the full read, but they might have a read on the site. Look at this, Benja on one side. They're pushing up. Doki does get caught out by Mark in the meantime, but Blur finds DCH. Sapper inside the site, suffering the calls. Instead of going for it directly, instead they push themselves up to the second story. They're looking for this. The one loose player tucked around to the corner. Alamau, do you know?
Oh, yes. Not quite sure if that was sound or just a movement that he could just see a little bit out of, but that's the kill to come through. And now a 2-on-4. G2, you should lock this one out, really, because if you throw this one away again, Elevate really will start living on that hope. The C4 ready to be tossed in. Mr. Punch, he's waiting for the pings to come through. He's waiting for them to get a bit closer, but I believe that's someone on his drone out there. Alamau gets taken down. Mr. Punch takes down another one as well. Virtue loses. And now it's a 2-on-2. Benja and Blur left alive up on the top floor again. Sloppy from G2 to not play this together.
All right, Mr. Punch and Zapper, the man of the moment of the previous round. Let's see if you can try and thread another one together. This time, you have support and they don't. But they still have a lot of time. They can get these calls done. They can get themselves control of the cameras with a snap. And now let's see if they can actually piece together any intel from the back of it. There is still the pulse with a C4, and that can be dangerous. What else is there? Oh, another C4. Twinned alongside. They can potentially long arm a little bit of this, so Benja and Blur might have to get a bit close to the fire. The drop is going to happen on the hatch, the blind and the swing. Benja gets one, Sapper gets one back, and there's the C4 over the top. Does huge amounts of damage. Benja, so scrappy. Another flash, another blind, another swing and a fight, and he's dropped down. He doesn't have the time to make it back up in a clean fight. Sapper gets a breath of fresh air, but he's got a slight reposition. Where's he gone, Benja? He's shooting all around him. He's over the top. Can he make it a second in a row? Sapper's gone wide, and there it is! Sapper! 2 for 2 and a timeout by G2.
Sapper clutch it again, and let's just listen in what Fabian is going to say, because I don't think he's happy. If you get to listen in.
Well, have a little bit of replays first.
Yeah.
Attacker's bomb diffuser has been dropped.
There we go.
Can you do an impression?
No. It's been a while since I've talked to him, you know. But I mean, he's smiling still, so it's not like, you know, all hope is lost. Alamau still smiling. But it's probably like a, can we please just, you know, end this? Like, close the game? Like,
oh, no, that's Ty. I don't think that's Doki.
No, I don't think so either. Timeout's done now.
I'm gonna pretend that is Doki.
The thing is, though, this is what I said. If Elevate is going to be able to win that round as well, suddenly we find ourselves 3 rounds away from overtime. Elevate might just as well get back into that groove. And as Sapper finds himself a second clutch, he's definitely showing his worth right here for the Elevate lineup. And we're headed back towards the basement, back towards lockers. And if you didn't notice, this one was actually quite close the previous time as well, because they had to drop through these hatches. And suddenly it was a 2v4, effectively. There was still a member on G2 that was down, recovered. Eventually the clutch came through and they won that round, which put them onto match point.
10 seconds remaining.
But Elevate after that, they've been able to get these 1v3 clutch. Then, you know, they turned a 4v2 back into a 2v2, into a 1v1 that they won out. That's a bandit, yes, because, I mean...
Kate's banned.
Kate's banned, and who knows? G2 has been quite sloppy.
Yeah, but
just come by, shoot an expiry set on it, without paying attention.
Come on, what?
You're saying that now, but if it works, it's going to be very funny.
It's like, but like he's protecting it, sure, and that's one thing, but it's the same as if they weren't there, because if you're protecting it and you die, then they'll just shoot them off. Yeah. I don't really get it, but they don't get Doki. Well, they do, even, and Doki doesn't get anything pushed away. Mark runs their way back in. I'm lost.
See, maybe Virtue just wants to open him up.
I've never seen.
And he doesn't. I mean, I've done it, but with the old reinforcements, which still stuck out a little bit. You could dig in the Bender battery inside of him, but it has been changed for like years now. So, wondering to see what the idea is behind it, indeed.
Onigiri, he's trying to protect his bandit batteries for as long as possible here. He's gonna see if he can try and just do exactly that. He doesn't need to intently swing. They're watching angles either side. The window's been opened a bit, and, well, there's the catch. Virtue had the angle ready to rock and roll and was pre-firing the next as well, seeing if anybody came up the stairs. Benja smashed his way through. Oh my god, I can't believe he solved that.
I mean, there's still another one. He might actually, you know, miss some Excars. There's only 6 left.
I can't believe
If he just shoots them on this one, he cannot open a hatch anymore, Emmy. Seems like they're going for the blue stairs, though. A lot of utility being tossed down. The smoke used by Mr. Punch. He's very ready for any push to come through. I believe they're also going to be pushing in from the tunnel outside. Another smoke canister tossed in. Not sure if the hatch already has been opened up. Alamo is surely coming in to try and swoop up that player. It's not really being there to protect him currently. Also, doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that someone is actually still on the blue stairs. Takes down Alamo. That's a big oversight on G2's behalf.
Oh, and he gets one more.
Way.
Can he find the third? No. Virtue's the end, but Mark is the continuation. Over the top, and Blur now has to try and drop himself a 1 versus 3 Blur clutch potential. It's not the first we've seen in this showdown, but it would be the first success. Can he try and get that locked in and get G2 locked over? Unfortunately not. Sapper. I mean, Sapper activated.
And where they were sad and long faces at the start of this map, the smiles and the fun is starting to come back in the Elevate side. And that's dangerous. Because now they're starting to play more carefree like we've just been seeing. And now suddenly G2 lost 3 map points and only have 2 left. They're halfway back into this game.
That bandit thing still tickles me.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Still tickles me. This tournament, and I guess it's always that thing, is SI is magical.
It might have just been a mispick.
SI is magical, I don't care. SI is magical, and you see things that you don't always see. We've seen a Gara kill.
Yeah.
We've seen a Twitch drone kill for the first time in a very long time, since the damage got nerfed. You know, we've seen every single bomb site, every single map. We've seen a bandit.
We've only missed 2 attackers so far.
We've seen a bandit electrifying hatches on a basement site.
Okay, so when I think about it, it could be either that they picked Bandit by accident.
I don't want to put reason to it.
Okay, no, we won't put reason to it.
I just love that I've seen it.
It's meta now.
Yep.
It's been used in the Six Invitational, and they won the round. I mean,
Yeah, they
can
won
really
the round.
argue with it?
We saw Grim.
Yeah, true. We see the bees.
We've seen bees. Ah, SI's magical. Okay. Elevate. These past few rounds, they've been spicy, and we said you were better on your defense, and you are proving it. You still only have the game ahead of you to play. There's 2 rounds to try and fight yourself towards a second OT. I'm not entirely sure if you'll be starting your defense or attack, but at this point, we still got to get there first, and that comes from this, the continuation, because let's be honest, 2 of those rounds were nail-biting. That was the only one that we've seen with a bit of the control, and now you got to head back to the top floor where it was a Sapper 1 versus 3 clutch.
Yes. But that's the thing, like, all the rounds should have basically been G2s. They just haven't been able to convert them. So I'll put them in this position now where they have 2 more opportunities to lock it out for a full 4-pointer. Because the 2nd or 3rd place seed is what they will be aiming for. The first still possible, but it's going to be very difficult. Not winning this game in a 2-0 is going to be putting some pressure on you.
Oh, do they want to do a jump out? They're going to pop the E1D just to maybe stop the temptation of throwing themselves there. Doki grenades mostly himself. That is not the first time he's almost killed himself in those windows.
No, I was going to say, Doki on these windows, like grenades, not really the best combination. Actually, no, it wasn't his own grenade. He just tossed one in after. His second one only just went in now. What was the explosion then?
Might have been... Yeah, Virtue's grenade.
So it was Virtue that almost killed him.
Okay.
So it wasn't Doki's fault this time?
This time.
Not this time.
Sorry, Jack. Well, will it be the fault of that? They can't quite get this cemented and locked down on the second map. Onigiri, unfortunately, still the first off. There goes Mr. Punch to follow, not far behind. Mark gets one back. Doki on the swing in, gets caught out. Bench is on the opposite end of the top square. Mark's on the bottom, looking for the fight. Just ekes it out. A great take. With the extended barrel, gonna see if he can try and swing his way up. Alamau's concerned about a jump out here, but Mark is more intent on getting himself back towards the site itself. The jump out is always that risk. It is really all or nothing, and at this point, you're playing for that, so you've got to be cautious and aware. Blur on the far end. You're looking at 30 seconds left, and he's the one with the kit, so he cannot sit around on the windows waiting forever.
He won't be as well. I'll have to move in at some point. Sapper taking a lot of damage, has to rotate out, but with this, he puts himself in the crossfires of the two remaining G2 players on the other side. The grenade comes through, and that's Sapper taken out. That's the clutch factor off the board as well. 12 seconds though, they need to move quick on G2's side. They need to try and get a plan down, but they don't really have a safe space to do so.
Inside the site, holding the long desk, waiting for the time to tick away, and Mark gets one more. It's a 2 versus 1 with the man's head down. DCH, round on the back. They pop up off the kid. He got the swing around, aiming at the lion. He wasn't even aiming at the piranha.
Oh, well. And you know, you start thinking again about the 3v1 on CEO office in round 8 with Benjo running at the last person with a pistol. And now we're finding ourselves with a potential overtime. 6-5. Elevate getting back into this, and I said it before, as soon as they start getting hope, as soon as the joy comes back in this game, because they were beaten at the first half, they were beaten at the start of this game. But now getting back into it, and that's when it's dangerous. It's a team that has nothing to lose, basically has nothing to gain either. They're just playing their game like they enjoy it best. And that's often the most dangerous kind of team to play against. 6-5, match point. One more left for G2 before overtime hits.
10 seconds remaining.
And of course, that doesn't mean that their opportunities are over on winning this game or getting full points. But it just allows Elevate to get back into it.
This was a 6-1 at one point.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And then, you know, that's when the 3v1 clutch of Sapper happened. And that's when I said, this might be the energy they need to get back into it.
Oh, Onigiri has had such a rough time. Such a rough time over these past few rounds. I think out of, 4 of them, 5 of them, he's died within the opening 30 seconds from just being sprayed through. And it's, again, it's the worst possible time for that to happen. But the magic is happening elsewhere from Elevate. They just need to make one round of a difference, and we'll see if they can do that here. Doki, a misthrowing grenade. Flashback to about 2 minutes ago, a conversation on Windows, and Mark suffering a bit of scrape and scrap damage from another one thrown up from Virtue underneath, but now he has none left. Doki only has one, and they're still trying to clear out the position onto Banana. Mark does get caught out though. Blur holding far away on the angle. They're gonna see if they can maybe get...
They baiting?
They're hoping. Blur gets it just through the wall. Doki finds DCH, and well, for the fight back now is the toughest bit. Riptorn C4 doesn't get the catch. He's under a huge amount of suppressing Mr. Punch, so he pops himself behind Tellers. As the E1D starts to scream out, they fire over the top. They know where he is. He tries to make a bit of a response with the SMG secondary, but he can't. Sapper, he did a 3 versus 1 earlier. It's a 5 versus 1 here, but it's not his this time round. G2. They couldn't have drug it out longer, but they just stem themselves from OT, take the 4 points. And
there we go. This is why he ran out with the Deagle. Alamau just pointed at it as well. He's like, why did you run at it with the Deagle? He's like, I had no bullets. That explains. But it allowed Elevate to get back into it, just not enough to reach overtime. And with that, G2 is going to be picking up the full 4 points, stay in the fight for a top position in the end of the day, or tomorrow rather, and otherwise maybe a 2nd to 3rd placing. They'll be happy with the results, maybe not as happy with how the second half eventually played out, because that was a lot of sloppiness that they got punished for, and that's the sloppiness they need to be taken care of by tomorrow.
I mean, that's entirely it. You can't really put it better than that. It's the fact that you expect more from teams at SI. You expect more from teams that have fought their way here. Not everyone can perform to a level. And if teams aren't, you have to make sure that you can, because other teams will be. And that is where we find ourselves. And where we also find ourselves is throwing to a quick break before we're back at the desk to break that down.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I promise you, you can start breathing again. G2 have actually closed the map. Yeah, two of them in a row that really got a bit too close for comfort, but still, Elevate, unfortunately, have now been eliminated from the tournament, the first team here in their group, and G2, they're sitting nice and pretty. 4 points extra to put, and actually pushes them pretty high up into their group, taking currently at least the second place position. Hello, welcome back. I'm Medic, your host. With me on the analyst desk at our command center, and he's fast, he's quick, he's fresh. He's pretty fresh too. Look at that shirt.
I thought he was going to say I'm slow and sluggish, Milosh.
Oh, that would be.
I'll do the self-ban. I'm slow and sluggish.
Not at all. I've seen you Q and E all around. I watch your stream.
I run to play Ranky.
That is true. Have you been playing Ranky here?
A little bit, yeah.
Just before the events?
A little bit. I solo queued the other day, actually, and I was against crying 3 times in a row. Terrible. Lost every game.
Alt F4? Well, don't do that, but... Here we are. Anyways, I mean, if he's running Ossa plus Blackbeard with Spoit on the team, I completely understand that. Anyways, let's have a chat about this game, starting off with map number 1 out of 2. And I gotta say, in the map bans overall, some questions to be raised, but it went to Skyscraper, and it was really to the T. G2 had to claw every single round that they got in.
It got really close, probably way too close for comfort, and this map could have completely gone the other way. G2 could have had less points. Elevate could have still been in SI. There's a lot of theory crafting that we were doing, but it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda. G2 won the map eventually. We talked about the importance of Elevate's defenses on this map because that's what they needed to win if they want to stand a chance on Skyscraper, which was a peculiar map pick. And those defenses, 3 out of 3, probably not enough to pull Skyscraper over the limit.
They did improve, and I did challenge them to improve on their attacks, and they did. They got 3 attacks, which I thought was actually really good for Elevate, getting it to overtime. Like I said, they just didn't pull through in the end. Absolutely heartbreaking. You know, the scenes that we saw after, you know, knowing that they were knocked out, and you know, the disappointment there. I actually thought Elevate played very similarly on their attacks. I think their attacks generally through this tournament have been poor. Obviously, when we get to the next map, they only got 1. However, G2 really didn't play into the way Elevate play. When you're playing against Elevate, they're quite slow. They will hold a window for 2 minutes if they feel that they need to hold that window. What was G2 doing? They were just offering ahead on that window every single time. And it's kind of awkward for G2 because most of the teams in their group, you want G2 to be making the proactive plays. You want them to be making plays. But against Elevate, you want them to be doing exactly the opposite. So G2 kind of fell foul a little bit of that, but managed to just about, and I say just about, regain it in the end.
Yeah, there were a few rounds where Elevate took way too much time, way too much utility to get rid of certain power positions. For example, the shield on top of the Black Stairs with the shotgun player right behind it. That took way too long, but there was points as well where there was a tech timeout from G2, and Fabian said, guys, we're playing way too predictable. I think it's probably safe to say that G2 maybe underestimated Elevate a little bit going into this game, thinking, oh, we can swing them. That's fine. We'll kill them. And it didn't always go to way. If you look at the entries, for example, as well in this game, I think it was only 4 rounds, 5 rounds maybe, in that first map out of 15 rounds, so it's 1/3. I can do maths on the spot. Maybe. Yes, 1/3 of the round that they got the entry. That's not a lot of entry kills either.
Yeah, oddly enough, it seemed like, maybe from my perspective as someone who isn't a professional analyst, but it seems like the 2 gameplay styles of Elevate and G2 just do not match in any way. G2 versus W7M, that was something else, explosive, 2 teams reacting to one another, but Elevate was a bit scared because they knew this was an elimination game. They already had a tough time through the tournament, so they're playing for picks, and G2, the whole tournament, has been just moving and trying to find early picks proactively, unlike Elevate, which, yeah, you kind of split it midways and it ruins it for both of them.
It created quite a clunky game is the best way of, you know, in terms of map 1. It was quite a clunky game, you know, even inside of the rounds. And I think G2 obviously had a plan to play a different way against Elevate and didn't. And the duality of Siege. I spoke to Fabian after G2 lost to W7M. He was very upbeat. Fabian, after G2 won against Elevate, he was shouting at them like they'd just been 7-0'd. He was not happy between maps there. He gave them a right good shouting at.
No, fair enough, and at least that helps push them over the line for map 1. For map 2, also it got pretty darn close. We'll take a look at Bank as we put those numbers up on the screen. Again, good performance. Benja waking up on map 2 was very necessary for the team, but with a massive lead like G2 had, 6-1 at one point, it should have been closed a bit earlier, Anne.
It should have been, yeah. 6-1 up, Elevate winning 4 rounds in a row. G2 called a tactical timeout midway through that as well. And still, they were unable to hold off those rounds. So I think if we look at improvement points for G2, it would be, we've been speaking about this during the game, rounding out these games where it does really matter. Because if you have that 6-1 lead, and for example, if we think about the future, right? Oh, tiebreakers, round differential.
True.
You can't be throwing away too many rounds because you'll end up thinking about it later. Oh, I really shouldn't have done that. We should have closed that game out way faster, way sooner. So that is a teeny tiny bit of a concern for in the future. Another thing I did notice for sure is if you looked at the first map, the performance of Onigiri, he knew it was now or never, and he performed, and the second map was gone.
I think for G2, they played the defensive bank really well. You know, Elevate only getting the one attack. The shouting that they'd had from Fabian between the games, they really settled in and played against Elevate, not against anybody else. So the first half went really well, and like you say, those sloppy attacks, we just don't know if it's going to cost them because, you know, I'm sure we'll look at the table at some point, but the way it's shaping up, if tomorrow goes right, we could be having a three-way tie for first place, where mini league, and if you get past the mini league, round difference, like you say, really comes into play, and 3 rounds could be difference between first and third.
We'll talk about that visually also when we do the recap for the group. This way everybody can see exactly what we're talking about in the round differential and explain things how it works in the rulebook for the Invitational. But who was our MVP for this series? Again, I still think there's a couple of pretty good contenders on here, and it's Doki, which I did not have on my radar at all. But to be honest, he was consistent through both maps.
Yeah, a few really key points, in my opinion, was the way he was helping his team win out those 2 VX situations, right? A very certain moment I recalled on Skyscraper, where I think it was Doki and Blur trying to go for the plant together. Doki said, I have the shield. Blur, you go for the plant, push through top black stairs, get into the side, get the diffuser down. I will hold you. And he did that, and they ended up winning out that 2 VX situation. And I feel like that is something that really makes someone MVP.
I feel like for Doki as well, if you look at him during 2022, for the majority of 2022, he won't say this, but he kind of had this attitude where he felt that he had to hard carry G2 or they wouldn't win, forcing too many entry engagements when it wasn't natural. 7 entry engagements across, you know, nearly 30 rounds in this best of 3 that he just played. It's a lot more natural for Doki. He's playing a lot more of a natural game, and he's not forcing engagements, and he's finding so many more kills because of that.
All right, now for the visual, because we know that Elevate have been eliminated from the tournament. They are the team eliminated from this group, but what does the group look like overall? With G2's victory 2-0, that catapults them quite a bit further ahead than they were, with an extra 4 points. To top it, they double their points in this victory, making it 8. Now, Koi, of course, also had their victory. It's W7M at the top with 11, 9 for Koi, 8 for G2, 4 Space Station, and of course, Elevate out of the running. But I think it's good to focus now, not just on the points, but also on round differential. And I will turn to my analysts to help us make sense of the numbers.
So, very quick maths, Milosh. If Koi beat W7M 2-1 tomorrow, they will be on 12 points. W7M will be on 12 points. If G2 beat SSG 2-0, G2 will also join them on 12 points. Now, the tiebreak differential is mini league, where they would all be on the same amount of points, and it would move through to round difference. And that, like I say, could separate first to third place, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, if you look at rounds lost, for example, W7M has lost significantly less rounds in comparison to Koi, and for G2, it's even worse. So the round differential might really make a point if we get to the point where you mentioned, where all these games turn out the way you just mentioned, and we all get to the same amount of points.
Yeah, and there it is. You'll see the standings again. Very important to look at the round differential. Look at it. W7M at plus 19, plus 6 for G2. There's a 13 round difference. You can imagine if G2 had better games, a better one today against Elevate, and could have been a bit different.
Yes. Yeah, that would have put them on a way better round differential. And if you think about, them being so close to Koi in regards of points, and having that game tomorrow that we do have against SSG, which, having seen SSG today, you'd expect G2 to, maybe be able to clutch that out. If you do get those points and Koi ends up not getting them against W7M, then that one round differential, that will be coming back to bite you in the...
I love this group. This group's great.
Jack, just to remind everybody, why do you want to be number 1 in your group?
So the reason you want to be number 1, Milosh, is that you go straight into the upper bracket quarterfinal, which means you skip one of the upper bracket games. You get one extra day off, the first day of playoffs, and then you get to skip in the upper bracket. Obviously, even second is worth fighting for, because second place teams get to choose their third place opponent, and third place is the upper bracket. You don't want to be 4th or 5th, basically.
Definitely not 5th.
Well, definitely not.
No.
Anyways, final thoughts. Closing off our game. What do you think? Do you think G2 can go deeper? Come on.
I can't wait for tomorrow, genuinely.
Yeah.
Because we've got 2 great games, right? Because it's Elevate's day off.
Yeah.
We've got 4 teams that are all scrapping it out for first, second, third, and in SSG's case, an upper bracket position. So I'm just roll on to tomorrow. This group has been great so far.
Yeah, you could say we've already determined who's getting out this group, right? We know who's coming through, but there's so much more to determine tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Always the caveat. Always keeps you coming back for more. That's Rainbow Six, and that's Six Invitational in a nutshell. Though this was the first half of our Playday, we still have some more matches to go. All best of 3s, of course, live from Montreal. Thank you very much, my wonderful analyst and Jack. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be the changing of the guards. Jackie Jing will be hosting the rest of the show for today. See you in a bit.